right, y'all, before we start, because some of y'all be tripping, under the advice of counsel, I got to add that the views, thoughts, opinions that are expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone. They do not represent my employer. All right, let's go.
Because I was like, damn, do we really want to get into this discussion? Because if we get into this discussion right here, y'all.
All right, y'all, what's up? We are back with episode 10 of Ridgemont Forest Finest, the podcast. And today's episode is sponsored by BDA, Basketball Determination Avenue. Thank you so much, Coach Carey, for sponsoring today's episode. Today, we got a special Sunday Father's Day episode for you guys. And we are going to talk about the 1.3%, or as I like to refer to them as unicorns. So what is a unicorn? So a unicorn is a mythical creature that's said to only appear to those with pure hearts or as a sign of a great and benevolent presence, representing a mystical and enchanting creature that exists beyond the realms of our reality. Unicorns are a powerful symbol of magic, wonder, and the untamed beauty of the natural world. Their horns are believed to possess magical properties and is often associated with healing and purity, even able to purify poisoned waters. In stories and artwork, Black unicorns are sometimes portrayed as guardians of secrets or as creatures of great resilience and magic. The concept of a Black unicorn often carries associations with mystery, strength, and power. Their ebony coats are thought to represent the night sky or the depths of the unknown. They are known for their grace, beauty, and elusive nature. So today I have my Black unicorns in the building with me. We got the 1.3% of representation of Black male educators. So hello, greetings to all.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hey, damn,
What's up?
y'all
What's up?
don't be scared. Y'all be good. Don't be
Greetings.
scared. Don't be scared.
Oh, you doing a lot of reading right there. I was like, man, she's still
I
reading.
had to read that. I thought it was so beautiful,
It
and
was.
I had to read it. And so, but I hate reading because I be stumbling over words and shit.
No, you
and
did a good job.
I just feel like
We're elusive.
we are.
I have a strong, long unicorn horn, whatever that means.
She did say that.
She did say that. I was like, if I'm going to be a unicorn, let the horn be strong
And long.
and long. It is mythical, whatever that means, to whoever needs the mythicals. Hey, as soon as she was reading, I was like, ooh, she's better than me. She's still reading using syllables and words. I was like, God, dog.
She nailed it.
hate
She
you
killed it.
so much. I cannot stand you.
Read it off her phone screen, and I couldn't see nothing. She hiding something. What's up on the screen?
I really cannot stand you.
There's an issue with the text.
Anyway, greetings, fellas. Welcome to our Sunday Father's Day brunch. So first of all, happy Father's Day to all of y'all.
Thanks. Thanks.
Appreciate all the work you do for our kids and yours. So before we even jump into the interview questions that I have for you, because I got some questions for you guys, I want those of you that are comfortable to, in 20 seconds or less, tell me your what and your why. What or why made you become an educator? What was that moment? Who was that person? Why do you do this? 20 seconds or less. Can you do this in 20 seconds or less?
Are you looking at Mr. Mysterious?
I am.
Yeah, I can do it.
You
want me to-
long-winded.
You
I
want me to
just
start
don't
off?
care. Go
That's
ahead.
what she said. 20 seconds left and starting. My what was, is that a why if I needed a job? Radio was over. My brother was already in education, and my parents looked at me like, what are you going to do?
Mhm.
So that was my what. This is initial.
Okay.
Initially. Then my why was because I need money. So, of course, like people who need a gig, you get into it. Then all of a sudden, I saw the benefits and the blessings of working with wayward and guided youth.
That was cute. Do-do-do.
It's my horn.
Shut up. All right, Big Mike, 20 seconds or less. Yo, what? Why?
Definitely. I didn't start wanting to teach kids. I didn't start wanting to deal with kids. Matter of fact, I tried to avoid kids. But the kids found me. So
Okay.
I wanted to be a band director once upon a time. I was in the band. So I saw a need. So I figured the best way to do that was to become a band director, which they weren't letting me do. So that was a mode, just to teach kids how to learn music. But after a while, I learned that kids had a bigger need other than music. So that became my why, my purpose, because I don't like uneducated people in real life. And I think it starts when they're younger, being
Thanks.
uneducated there.
Okay. All right. Sean, what we got?
I'm gonna keep it really quick, just to fill a void, because when in education you don't see us. Period. Like we're not there. Women run education. Period. And so it was just a matter of my guys seeing me, seeing what I can do, seeing that it's okay to be me, seeing that it's okay to do what I do, and so that's why I'm here.
All right, I like that. Rev?
Well, life happens without our permission. It wasn't my plan, but it was God's plan. I love the kids. I enjoy the relationships. Since I've been in there, I think I've been more of a student. They've been more of a teacher. I learned from them, and I guess they are my why and my what.
Okay, I like that. E?
For me, just like a lot of other fellows, I didn't think I wanted to be a teacher. My career path started off being a probation officer in Brazos County and Brazoria County. And being in the courthouse, seeing these young individuals going to jail for 20 years, 50 years, 60 years, like it was nothing, I felt like my calling was education. And thanks to Mr. Mysterious over there, he kind of convinced me to get into coaching because I really didn't want to do that either. But, hey, I actually turned out to be pretty good at it.
I think you are pretty good at it. That's what's up. All right. T? Y'all, I got my baby cousin in. He gonna kill me if I keep calling him my baby cousin, the principal. But I can't call his name because he can't be associated with me because he want him to keep his job. But all right, go on. What you got?
For me, my parents grew up poor. My mom and dad, they grew up pretty poor, and education changed their life, which in turn changed me and my siblings' lives. So that was kind of the driving force behind it, is to let people know you don't have to accept the circumstance you were dealt, because my parents didn't, and it turned out pretty good for them, which turned out pretty good for us. So that's why I went into education, to let people see you don't have to accept your circumstance.
All right, I like. All right, Kay?
Well, I guess just like the young gentleman said earlier, I was in law enforcement, and I come from the bottom three. That's what we call the bottom three lowest education in America. I'm not going to say which one, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, but working in the youth study facilities, I gravitated to always helping the kids in the school part, and the principal just told me, like, hey, man, you don't need to be working here 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day. Do you have your college degree? Yes. Why don't you try teaching? He steered me to the right direction. I started substituting. My first year as a substitute, I was brought on as a full-time teacher, and then everything just pretty much went from there, and I gravitated to Texas, where I pretty much just found my home.
All right.
For me, I think for mine, it's my why started off being just a love of mathematics. It's weird, but to me, it was almost like stealing money, the fact that I got to do math every single day, all the time, and get paid for it. But I think it's been transitioning over time to now it's that why is now just seeing the transition of students. So someone, and for a lot of our students, going into a math class is like torture. But to see that transition of like, now it's okay to be in the classroom. Now I actually want to show up in the classroom, and I enjoy mathematics. So seeing that every single day has now become my why.
All right. Coach?
In elementary, I told myself that I want to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. However, I started coaching high school basketball immediately following when I graduated. And sometimes when you find out that you have a knack for something, when those kids listen to you, when they don't listen to anybody else, you find out that you need to be going in that direction. And that's what led me into education.
All right. I like that. All right. Come on. No, the one I done cussed out all morning. Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
Yikes. But I really needed a job. Let's just keep it 1,000. I needed a job. Because both my parents were educators, and I said I would never be a teacher. But it just came full circle, and I love working with kids now. So here I am with all these great black men teaching and impacting these students every day.
1.3. All right. I like that. All right. So y'all gonna hear me keep referencing the 1.3%, which is the low representation of black males in education. In your opinion, what do you guys think some of the challenges are that contribute to the low representation of black male teachers in our education system? Who wants to go?
That's a positive and productive career choice. So, I mean, I was born in 79, and of course, all those jobs have changed, but I was doctor, lawyer, firefighter, old boy from Miami Vice, Tubbs. I wanted to be everything, but an educator. So, you got to look at what young men grow up looking at. Like, what's your hero? The hero is not a teacher. I mean, I've Transformers. Give me a truck. that changes to a machine and I can go fight wars and all this craziness like Ninja Turtles, all this stuff. So it's like, okay, education, is that really something that I want to do? Now, a lot of us get pulled into it because we've played sports, we've been around sports, and then you're like, wait a minute, well, I like coaching. I can coach and teach, and there's a great book, and I think it's called Why Coaches Make the Best Teachers. So I just think it's what you're looking at when you're young, like what's instilled in you. A lot of these young men who are in here today, what happened? Their parents were educators. So they knew the business, they knew the career, they could see the pros and cons of education, but it was like, okay, is this something I'm gonna do? And I'm gonna say it, guys in here are great, and you can't make yourself great. Greatness is thrust upon you. So some people went in like one way, and then all of a sudden, now we're educators. We're unicorns, as we stated earlier.
We're unicorns. All right. What do you think contributes to the low representation of Black men in education?
I can tell you this. It's not really talked about at home that you should be, as a young man, go out there and be a teacher. There, like my brother was just saying, Mr. Mysterious over here, there are so many directions that young men are pointed to go so they could be, I guess, better young men in the future. You should have this type of job. My mom's in the nursing field, medical. She's been a nurse forever. My dad, athlete, so being a teacher, that's not a conversation they're going to have with their kids. So it honestly is not something that's pumped up. It's like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not talented, I guess you can teach. I've heard that statement said many times. Well, you can't do this very well. Why don't you try teaching? That's where everybody goes when they can't do X, Y, and Z, which I think with all the men in the room, we can both all say that's not true.
So let me ask y'all this. I've polled this question before on social media, and I'm going to kind of poll the room right now. I want y'all to think about the very first time, what grade, what age were you guys where you had your first Black male teacher? Think from elementary to college. So everybody's got these faces right now like, yo. So I'm going to go first, even though I'm not a Black man. It ain't about me today. It's about y'all. My first Black male teacher was in the 4th grade at Ridgemont Elementary. I had Mr. Marshall, 4th grade. All right, Mr. Mysterious, first time you had a Black male teacher.
Shouts out to, it don't exist anymore, the Blue Triangle YWCA in 3rd Ward. He was our music teacher. I don't remember his name. He did have a Jerry curl, and he had an awesome Casio keyboard, and he could play Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr., and I was like, that guy's the guy.
That's the guy.
That was the first one. And after that, nobody till middle school, where we're going to probably encounter the most of our male teachers early, Black males, because of what? Their coaches.
All right, Kay, what's the first time you had a Black male teacher?
Well, coming from my background, I've always had Black male teachers. Where I'm from, that's probably one of the more prominent jobs we can get because of just the economic factors of where I'm from. So from kindergarten, I got shocked when I got to high school and I had my first Anglo teacher. So it was different for me. I've always went to all Black elementary, all Black middle school, all Black high school, all Black college. So I had a culture shock when I first encountered the other side. So I've always had Black male role model teachers. I'm 3rd generation, education, principals, professors. So it's always been in my family. So I've always been around those.
Okay.
So that's just my piece.
All right, Big Mike.
I hate to say it, but it was my track coach.
What grade was
and my
that?
PE coach, 6th grade.
Okay.
It's probably one of the scariest things that I ever experienced because having Miss, and Mrs. all through elementary school, it's a transition through 6th grade. And this guy's like, I don't know, back then I'm so short. He's probably like 6'9" to me, wider than the hallway, making kids move left to right, but he had a presence. That's what I'll never forget about that. He made sure his presence was felt everywhere he went.
Okay. All right. Sean?
I would have to say my first was, I was going to say 4th grade, Ruby L. Thompson Elementary, Coach Hirsch. And then I remember that I also went to St. Peter's for a little bit, and so Coach Baptiste, but they were both coaches.
Okay.
Right? So that's when I had my chance.
Okay. What grade age were you when you had your first Black male teacher?
What was so cool was it was 3rd grade, but Coach Solari, PE coach.
Okay.
But Coach Solari used to hang over there with my uncle and play dominoes on the weekend, had his little drinks, and he'll see me at school Monday morning and say, you better not say nothing either.
And you better
not say nothing.
And you didn't. All right, E?
I've only had one Black male teacher ever, and that was Mr. Johnson, 6th grade at Jane Long Middle School. Now, oddly enough, Mr. Johnson, he didn't coach. He was one of those guys that all he did was teach English. When we talked about like kind of having a role model and their presence in the hallway, he was the only like black male presence throughout that school that brought that. So you still had like some of the females still kind of struggling to control, those certain kids who didn't want to listen, but it really wasn't not to listen. It's just like a presence thing and a respect thing. So that's for me.
All right.
So I thought I was going to be part of the norm, but mine wasn't until 9th to 10th grade. Coming to Hightower, that was my first set, and those were the coaches. Before that, junior high, elementary school, I've had black female teachers, but no black male teacher. Till high school.
All right. Anybody else, gentlemen? What age grade were you guys? We got a whole audience in here. What grade age were you guys when you experienced your first black male teacher? You can just shout it.
Come on, unicorns.
It wasn't until 8th grade when I got my first.
8th grade?
8th grade.
All right.
Science.
I want to say names so bad we can't say names.
I know I'm going to get yours. What grade age?
7th grade, he was the English teacher. And the only thing I really remember about him was he would tell us that when y'all get older, that hip-hop stuff is going to be what you tell your kids is out of style now, and they're going to have some new stuff. And then one of the kids in the class said, what's the answer to number 24? There was no 24 on the test. He hit him with the knives line. I made you look. And he told him to get out. But that was my first black teacher.
So corny.
I was cracking up laughing at it.
Can I change mine? It's Mr. Mysterious here. My first black teacher was my dad. No, I'm just talking.
I was like, please don't.
Was my father, of course.
Please.
Shouts
don't
out.
give me those.
He's not listening because he doesn't have any of the social media.
Well, I know you can say probably your first black male teacher was your father, because all your life, that's all my uncle has been. All right, Coach, what about you? Y'all, Coach is too cool walking up to the mic.
Pass the collection plate.
3rd grade PE.
Okay.
And for me, it was very important because I grew up in the hood, but I went to an all-white school in the middle of Bel Air. So our PE teacher was the only black male teacher on campus, number one. He was nice, neat, drove a Porsche. So that representation that he gave me at that age showed me that you can be somebody in this world.
Can I resign from my guest appearances?
Why?
Coach, see, now y'all double back-to-back deep voice baritone.
Deep voices, here we
God
go.
dog it, I'm going to change my voice. I'll be right there.
All right, we got another coach.
So I'm, I guess in this group, embarrassed to say that I never had.
Wow.
Ever. And I was sitting over, but I wanted to speak. I've never had a black male teacher ever.
Wow.
Come from a small South Texas town for elementary and middle school, and then went to high school in Corpus Christi, and then went to college at Texas State. Never.
Wow.
As I think of it now, it's not something I've thought about until you brought this topic up. But just thinking, never.
That's crazy.
That's tough.
So let me ask y'all this, and quickly, y'all, I don't know, everybody doesn't have to give their answer. What do you guys think could be done to get more black male representation? Like, how would they have to sweeten the pot to make teaching more glamorous for black males to be a field to want to get into? We got the rappers, we got the trappers, we got all this stuff that's what they're looking up to. How can we, the people, not me, make teaching more glorified, a position that black males want to get in?
First of all, it's representation. You have to see. So thinking about the young man who just spoke, I can't say his name, but you have to go through every level of education, and you've never seen someone that looked like you. And that makes a difference. I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. It's great to look in the hallways and see people that look like me because we have a cultural connection. So now, in spite of anything you learn here at home, anything you've told about anything, you have to go through life. There's no representation. So you have to see representation first. Like, I have a brother, younger brother. He had a ring on when he graduated college, a kid he was working at school with, lower economics. The kid goes, "What is that ring you have?" And he goes, "Oh, this is my high school ring. I have a college one." The kid goes, "Okay, I want that." So, okay, the goal might be the ring, But now we have the steps to say, okay, to get said ring or that ring, you have to do this, do this, do this, do this. And also, when you see somebody who has representation, they look like you can, there's a certain level of comfort. Now I can come and talk to you, and I can come and maybe ask you a question, and you just go, oh, I'm relaxed. But it has to be, first of all, representation, then word of mouth. So everybody in here, we've all had that conversation. Say, dog, why you ain't teaching, bro? You got the gift.
Mm.
I mean, I could talk all day, but I have an audience to talk. I don't have to do the other stuff that I want to do, but word of mouth and representation, definitely.
All right, anybody else?
I think also, let's be honest, a lot of us coming from rough neighborhoods, out of hoods and stuff, what's the first thing you hear about teachers? They don't make no money.
Make no money.
So when you hear that, that automatically make you say, mm-mm. And I grew up in a district where I never had a black academic teacher. They were always coaches or behavior teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I never seen one until I actually got to McNair. Mr. Jones.
You guys out. He had it out. Till you got to your school. Just say that.
So I got to my school and saw a black teacher teaching math, and I was amazed. Like, wow, we do have them.
We do have them. So I think that's something important. I was going to touch on that as well. I want to make sure that I acknowledge it in this room, even though I'm calling a lot of these gentlemen coach. Everybody is not a coach. We have a lot of men in here that have core content backgrounds. We got some history, some science, some math. We do have some behavior. We got a counselor. We got some administrators. We got some Kate teachers. We got a dean over here. We have a lot of experience in this room. So I think that's another thing. Like you said something earlier about a lot of black men get into it, I know from my experience, because they've either played some type of sport in high school or college, and that's what they want to go back and do. And the only way to be able to be a coach is gotta go get their teacher certification. And so they think that all they're going to be able to do is coach. But you get in there and it's like, nah, that's cute. We need you to teach science, or we need you to teach math. Now, I can say that I have never experienced as many black male math teachers as I have being probably in the last 7-8 years. Definitely no black male English teacher. So if I had a black male teacher,
I've never seen it.
They were teaching.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, bro.
Maybe science, maybe.
My
but
bad. I haven't seen it.
Most history, and those history teachers were coaches. And so it just kind of has been my experience. Now, a lot of coaches also get into it heavy onto the special education, because they say, well, you can go take your special ed test and you can go be a coach. And so people be like, all right, bet, behavior. Like that's gonna be the thing right there. Because for a black man, behavior, it's not a thing. It's kind of like what we do. And I feel like a lot of sometimes y'all's purposes on campuses should not be that way, but y'all are instantly looked at as the problem solvers, the issue fixers, the behavior teachers, because clearly the muscle, and clearly y'all the only ones that can relate to the kids that's acting a fool. That's how they see that. So what has been some of y'all's experience coming onto a campus and that being what's expected of you? Even though, like, I ain't no behavior teacher, I ain't the counselor, I'm not admin, but because you are a black male presence, the expectation is that you get your people, get your cousin.
Can I bring up a situation real quick today?
Yeah.
So, being in administration for a little bit, you deal with a lot of things in terms of making a campus run, assessments, data, all these terms you can throw out there that make people fall asleep on it. But my administration had changed at a school I was previously at, and they didn't know me. They knew each other. They brought all their friends with them. Like some of these coaches, when the coach comes in, he's bringing his staff with them. So this principal brought her staff with him, but I was the cornerstone. You couldn't get rid of the cornerstone, right? So what they sought to do was make me just the muscle. They called the 3 Bs, the butts, books, and I forget the other one, because I got so mad when they told me I was going to be relegated to just dealing with inventory and discipline, instead of actually working with relationships with kids, helping teachers get better. Instead of being an administrator, they're trying to make me a bully. I can be that. As you just mentioned, every time we step on the campus as black men, they think that's what we're supposed to be. Those kids that try to bully, you're going to bully them into doing what they're supposed to do. And that's not how it should be. So I actually left that particular assignment that day. I tried to talk to them. They didn't want to hear that. They had their minds made up that this is what the role, that's the lane you were going to be in. And I didn't see myself being in that position. I've been much more. Why are you going to make me less? So when you try to diminish me, I had to take things into my own hand. I left without having another job, but God had me. I ain't gonna say that, but I love this host right here. I ain't gonna lie, I owe her so much right now.
Oh, yeah.
But I left without anything on the table, without another job lined up. I stepped out on faith because I believe that my purpose for helping kids wasn't just to sit back and yell at them all day long and put them in detention and write them up. They needed so much more from me because there's not a lot of me around.
So can I'm gonna jump in and then I'll get to the rest of y'all's questions. I want to tell a quick story about, I know you were looking for a position, and even to take a step down, you were just like, I got to get out of my situation. I want to say that I will never forget on social media one day, this is how you had a little video that went viral. And I don't want to say little video because that little is a hating word, but you had a video that went viral. And I think about this video every time I hear this song. It was graduation, and I guess you guys are getting ready to walk out. You were high school, and you guys are getting ready to walk out of the tunnel. And I think one of your babies said, like, hey, come do the Tootsie Slide with me.
Yeah.
For her, I guess she was doing it for her video. And I was like, damn, he hit that hoe so smooth. I was like, look at him, he did this. But I thought, like, at the end, y'all did this little handshake, right? And I was like, that is so, it was powerful to me. And I know we've seen on social media, we have other teachers come in and they're like, oh, look, this teacher did this cute little handshake, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, okay, that's nothing. Like, this is something that we do every single day. And the connections and the handshakes that we make are more meaningful than just a little 30-second Instagram reel or for something for notoriety and for everybody to say, look at me. Like, that dance, her telling you to do that dance with her, the little connection y'all did at the end, that already told me everything I needed to know about your impact on her life the whole time she was in high school. So it's, to me, like the smallest little things like that just make a major impact. So, yeah, that's it. What was the question I asked? I done forgot the question. Behavior. All right. So what's the expectation, or how have you dealt with challenges about it being the expectation that you just be the muscle?
It's kind of expected when you are the behavior teacher. So funny. We get teachers who just bring random kids to our door who I don't even know. Just random kids. I mean, I have literally they dropped them off in my room. I come in there like, what you doing here? Well, so-and-so dropped me off, say, I need to talk with you. But
hey, I'm kind of guilty. I ain't gonna lie. I'm kind of guilty. I'll be like, hey, today, go downstairs. Go downstairs.
But it's cool because you begin to learn that all it is building relationships with them. And a lot of them don't have meaningful relationships. So I learned one thing. I said, either they didn't have too much tough, not enough love, or they didn't been showed too much love and not enough tough. So when we bring them in, we prescribe them what they need to try to bring that balance.
I like that.
For me, before I went into admin, I taught English, and I was the.
I shaded you. You were an English teacher. Okay,
before I went to admin, I taught English, and I was on a team with all women. Like I was the only male English teacher in the district. Like, it was just, when we go to district meetings, it was just me. So I would have kids that showed up at my door, knock on the door, what you want? Coach, I'm in your class now with a schedule, because they were a behavior problem. So at first it would annoy me because I'm like, why am I getting, but then I just take them like, yo, come in and have a seat. Get your pencil out. We're just going to make this work. But then it became a point of me trying to prove a point. You're a behavior problem, so then they think that you can't learn. So I'm going to show them by you coming in here with me, we're going to fix the behavior, but you're also going to pass this test. You're also going to get this grade. You're also going to get what they said that you couldn't get because you were a behavior problem. So just so I could kind of point the finger back, like, you are the problem, not him or not her. It was you. And if I can get him to do it, then what am I doing differently that you call yourself doing, but you couldn't handle the situation? So it used to irritate me. It's like, why am I sitting at 180 kids and she got 160? But then I just like, yo, come in, have a seat, get your pencil out, and we'll just make it do what it's supposed to do.
And I think a lot of times it comes back to we're relatable. Everybody in here can relate to most of those kids, especially the kids that look like us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, because, you know, most time, like, when they come, oh, man, Miss tripping on me today, we can relate to what tripping means, but The teacher, you telling me I'm doing what? Get out, get out.
Right.
I can't believe he said that to me. And then you hear the story of, he said what? He said I was tripping. Oh, what? It's cool. Chill, calm down. I got it. But once again, we're able to relate because we come from those same cultures. And if you're not raised on that side of the tracks, you're not going to understand people that come from that side of the tracks. So when you come in, and then all the time, a lot of time, kids just want you to listen to them. If the teacher, she hopped up, she beefing with the people back at her crib and whatever, and she come to work, she carrying all that stress and drama from home to the kids. Miss, I ain't even said nothing. I didn't say anything to you. Why you going off on me? Da-da-da. Man, I ain't even say nothing, mister. She said, da-da-da. They just want you to listen and have somebody to advocate for them. So a lot of times when we go and advocate for our kids, especially my behavior people in here, they know, we able to diffuse the situation. But a lot of times it's just they just want to listen, or they want somebody to talk to and listen to them and not just tell them to shut up or go back to class or whatever. It's just a lot of times, like I said, building those relationships and understanding them and being able to relate to them.
So I have so many questions and they're kind of all over my head. But as you speak, I want to jump on my list and jump a question. On episode 8, we had some Black women on the show, and we were talking about some of the racial stereotypes and implicit biases that we face as Black women who are educators, right? But I wanted to be known that you guys face some of those things as well. And I'm coming to, you already know what I'm coming at, right? So I've been on him since he walked through the door. Actually, I've been on him since the beginning of the week. But I'm going to talk specifically about your story, and then I want to see if anybody else has any other similar experiences to a story that he has. So to know Mr. Party Goer, the club man himself, all right? Mr. Gucci himself, I got to give you an alias, all right? So to know him is to know that he is probably it's always going to be the flyest on the campus. Shoe game on 100. You got locks down to his back, all right? Drives the baddest car ever, okay? Now, when he started out with me, he was a para. And he was hit with so much microaggression that really wasn't microaggression. And there was one story in particular that pissed me off, and I wanted to jump down on people thought like I was his sister. And it was the comment, I think do you have on a Gucci belt that day? You had on something. You was fly. You was doing something. And an administrator asked you, a white administrator asked you, what do you do? Do you sell drugs or something? What was the story? I can't remember how it went. In the middle of the hallway in front of everybody.
So I was at lunch duty, which is usually a thing that they relegate the paras to. So I would put the trash cans around, whatever. So one of the kids asked me, they was like, what kind of belt you got on today? You got on the Gucci, the Louis, I say, this is Gucci, check the G's, or whatever. And so the administrator called me out. She says, what do you do? Do you sell drugs? And everybody, like, the teachers that came in, everybody had a look on their face like, you said what? To him? Out loud?
Out loud.
At lunch?
At lunch?
In front of kids.
In front of
In front of the kids.
So, and that's not, but to say all that, that's not the first time, people have asked me, well, how are you able to drive that kind of car? What else do you do? Like, where's your money coming from? Like, all of that has been asked to me on this campus.
Because I think it's also important to note that during this time, you had a switch in vehicles. You purchased a brand new home. You had like all these things, and this was before you were still trying to finish your degree or your certification to become a full-fledged teacher. But hold on, Mr. Mysterious got something to say.
No, I want you to finish.
I'm still in awe behind the whole situation anyway. But go ahead, carry on.
So about 6 months ago, about 2 years ago, I started thinking we got a Calvin and Karanika the game. So when he told me, and I've seen things that happen like this, I go, well, now it's time to call HR. Because what you do outside of this building, and we have this culturally, is your business. Now, if I know your business, that's still your business. And I couldn't believe the, what they say, gall? I don't know.
Unmitigated gall.
Those words.
Unmitigated gall.
And you know what? We've been raised so much to be like, to shrug it off. I'm like, nah, bruh. She violated your working or whatever the words are rights, because I don't ask people what they do. unless I know you. Now I say, hey man, hey bro, you know we've been on the boat 6 times. I mean, you do what I do. I mean, can I invest? I might ask that way. Can I invest in this small endeavor?
Great question.
And I want plausible deniability. So when they come ask me some stuff, I don't know. I gave them $600. Here's what it is. But think about this. And I'm gonna be honest with you. She was white and she thought she was down.
Absolutely.
So I'm not condoning any of her behavior at all. So she thought she could ask these questions. My problem is like this. And somebody checked me a couple weeks ago about, hey, I give kids direction. Don't question my direction in front of kids. I was like, you show right, my fault. So why ask a grown man? And then you didn't ask him, was he an investor?
Right.
Was he a mutual fund advisor? Was he an entrepreneur or entrepreneur, new or whatever? Did he have on the suit like my man back there? When he walked up to the mic, I'm going to the other side. And I was like, nah. I begged. I was like, please go to HR, dog. Or do I need to make a call? And he didn't because of how the culture is. But think about that. You did whatever you did with your money, how you did it. And then you show up wearing whatever you wear, and somebody questions, are you doing something illegal to have those gains? P. Diddy said it's a Bentley to you, it's a blue car to me. I know y'all like the belts, but this is the belts I buy. And this young man had to go through that. And that, I'm going to take a drink of water.
Because that pissed you off.
Me being that.
Huh?
Nah, so like they said, I should have said something and went to HR, but like they said, I was like, I didn't want to make the waves. I'm the lowly pair on the totem pole. I didn't want to make no waves. I was still trying to build a relationship. So when I got my degree, I could go, hey, let me get a job. So I didn't make the waves that I should have made. I just let it kind of fizzle out.
Because but you don't want to be labeled an angry black man on campus.
In fact,
like anytime we speak up for ourselves, or you see something that you don't think is right and you speak on it, you labeled as an angry black man, and you trying to get into the district, that would have put a big mark, on you, on us, because all you did was speak up for your right, but you get that angry black man label. It's hard to shake.
And you still continue to catch hell. That you had it rough. You had a couple of other rough instances.
I want to speak on that.
Yeah, you had a couple of other rough instances finishing up that school year on your way up out of there, because I feel like, and I kind of got on you about it because you have this friendly, bubbly personality. You were just friendly with everybody, and I think, like I told y'all, you play too much with them, and they think that they can play with you, and I don't like that shit because it wasn't checked. They felt like they could continue the small little microaggressions and little nice nasty jokes that they were making. I ain't like it.
He's so stealth though.
Yeah.
He stayed professional
all the time.
He stayed professional the whole time. He smiled, but one thing he knew how to be friendly without being a friend to everybody. And when he was there, like, I heard one particular person tell him, I'm going to make sure you don't get a job.
Yes.
I was in shock that they even said that out loud in front of our administrator.
Yes.
And it wasn't checked.
Yes.
So I can't help it. I'm listening intently to what y'all are saying. That's a culture thing, man. And people don't understand that in schools there's cultures in the building. There's district-wide, cultures, but how can it be in the building where you say something to me sideways, like you said to this man? I don't have to be the angry black man. I can flame. Can I use a certain word?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can flame your ass up for talking to me sideways in a very professional manner. I don't have to curse at you. I don't even have to I don't have to threaten you with violence, but you gonna know I was there. Yeah. So when he was saying you should have go through the proper channels, go to HR, talk to somebody. I mean, do that. You don't have to talk to them anymore. Evidently, talking to them doesn't work. And for them to do that, why didn't they ask the question? I'm sorry, I'm getting upset.
No, but hold on. But
why didn't they say, how can you get like me? Instead of looking at my belt and what I'm wearing, what I'm driving, why don't you say, you know what, for what you're doing, man, you must have got that before anything dealing with my job. You must have done something outside of that. Why couldn't it be something positive? Why not ask this man, how can I get like you, man? Exactly. I like those kind of things. What did you do to do that? Maybe I can do what you're doing. Why not ask that man for advice? I get it, though, because it didn't come from somebody that looked like him. So he don't understand that you have a grind unless it's what he said, doing drugs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add though, like not to validate, but you said you were just a para, which it's not just. You were a para. Like that's an essential part of the way the school runs.
For sure.
Even as a para, a teacher, an administrator, even in my position, I wouldn't know how to handle that situation because it's like me being a leader on campus, even if that happened to me, I can honestly say I don't know if I would go talk to HR because then it's like, okay, now I'm putting a target on my back.
And HR is not your friend.
Right. So it's like now even though in this situation I was the victim or I was the one that it happened to, now they're gonna be watching me. So they're gonna be watching everything that I do and everything that I say and everybody that I interact with, and it's like putting a microscope on it. So I've had conversations like this before about race and stuff like that, but it's hard when you're in that position where you want to be more, and this is the place where you are right now. So it's like, okay, I gotta play the game, but me being the age that I am, I wish that I need the tools to figure out how to handle situations like that. Because even as a leader on campus, I can honestly say if that happened to me right now, I don't know how I would deal with it. I honestly don't know. Like, do I open my mouth and say something and risk everything that we're working on in the end goal, or do I say nothing and handle it a different way? I can honestly say I don't know the answer to that.
And so let me finish the story. So as she said, like these shots went on throughout the year. Like this wasn't like a one-time thing. Like it was like, oh, you driving this today? Oh, you driving that today? Where you get that from? Where you get, all kind of stuff. Now the people that know me know how hard I work.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that know me at that time, I had another person that was providing income to my household. The people that know me knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So then, it was getting so bad that other people on campus that were in a little position of power started throwing their little shade at me, picking on me, telling me go do this. It's not even work hours yet, and you were on the intercom asking where I am at.
Calling your full government name.
I've been there.
Yeah.
My para year.
Your para year. It would be contract hours 8:00. It's 7:45, 7:35. They calling your full government name on the intercom. We in the group chat like, damn, what you did now? Like, why are they calling for you?
That was just me, man.
Well, I did a curveball when they did that to me. I'm from a rebellious state, so I started doing it on purpose for the whole year, and it just worked out for me.
You started doing what?
Just breaking rules, just testing them because I've just come from that bloodline and just challenged authority if they're wronging you.
Mm-hmm.
So and it God kind of had me on that though. So,
mm-hmm.
And of course my beloved late wife, she channeled me in and kind of got my life right.
Lord, now we got to keep you in check now.
Yeah, she kind of channeled me.
But my host did help me write this real professional email.
Not you telling my business.
To HR.
Not you telling my business.
It didn't have your name on it. It had mine, so it's okay.
I was your chat GPT. I just helped you.
I think one thing that's valuable though that just comes from being a black man is that we don't need to run and whine, or we've been raised to understand that we can't run and whine and cry and blame someone else for our issues. We have to solve our issues ourselves. And so for those who are lucky enough to sort of create a tribe wherever they're working, you have someone to vent off to say, hey, this happened, so people understand you got it out, and then you can sort of get stronger wherever you're at work. So that's one thing that's valuable about us is that we don't have to whine and cry and blame someone for our issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, in his situation for us that, you gotta realize we're never looked at as true men. And thing two, as they look at we not.
Why wait? Because of the para position?
No, as a black man, you're not looked at as a man. That's why if you realize back in the day. That's why in the older generation, they used to call each other bruh or man or young man stuff to emphasize because you're getting called boy so much. They kept calling each other, hey man, what's going on, to emphasize you are still a man, regardless of what they address you as. But the thing is, even in this day and time, no matter how much money you make, you're not supposed to have that. Because instance, my brother had the same thing. Couldn't tell him anything. He started off in one vehicle, worked up in a company. He bought this truck on a certain level that they thought he shouldn't have, so he started having problems. My thing is, no matter if it's little, they're going to look at it as you shouldn't have it.
Absolutely.
You know, they rather you still be in that slave shack back behind the master's house and still working for them no matter how much money you make. So that's the mentality we still have to deal with. Because this year, we dealt with some things that I have seen coming from a true South Carolina. You know, I know and see every day some of the stuff they talked about in school. I'm like, hold up, we don't roll like that. And see, I had to correct them a couple of times. I remember, just because I was starting as a parent. Remember, I have 20 years before I came here. So don't use my experience, don't pay the money.
Right.
But they will use you up and they will talk about you.
Yeah.
And they will bring out little things just to try and degrade you. But my thing is, at the same time, that's why you say you got a village to help build you up and keep it going.
I like that. I know here and on previous episodes, we've had a couple of brothers that have their PhDs or their EDs, right? And they may be coaches on the campus. And so they would always just tell the kids, just call me coach, call me coach. And I remember having a conversation with one, he couldn't be here today, but I was like, hey, it ain't my business, but I really want you to not emphasize the coach part. I want you to not make the kids call you doctor, but I need them to know that there's a label or a title in front of your name, because I want them to know that they can too aspire to be what you're being. And I remember this conversation, he was like, nah, because I don't feel like dealing with the white folks in the district. And I'm like, what you mean? And it's like, nah, because I'm probably one of the few that have that title. And that's when problems will come, because you let them know that, hey, in this area, I'm highly educated or more highly educated than you are. And then that's going to be where a problem is going to happen. And so when you said that, it made me think about that particular person. Actually, a couple of them. They're like, nah, just keep it simple. I'm gonna water my education down. I'm gonna water my experience and my education down just so I don't have to deal with the drama. And that's crazy to me.
It comes from the culture of enslavement of Africans, where you didn't want to be too bright, too smart, too fast, too strong, and you get moved from the said place you were at. So you got to remember, in our culture, we don't like to cause ripples because we don't want the stuff to come down on us. So I'm sitting here listening to the young man who just talked from one of the Carolinas, and I heard the emotion in his voice when he's speaking. And this is going to be one of the few rare times you get guys telling you the truth, talking to you for real, and really open up your ears and let guys talk. But there are a lot of guys who sit on campus, I promise you, all the coaches have probably more degrees, better degrees, different degrees. I sit on campus with a guy who's an engineer, chemical engineer, this, that. He was a coach. Hey, just call me coach. Now, I do say, because of where I work, I make him say the full name of the school. And we had one incident where we had first year, the person who the school is named after, he's a doctor. So when his bros, they Qs, came to the first football game, they saw the tickets, and the tickets had first name, no title with it, last name. And I was like, what's up? And people who say, hey, coach, you got to come outside. There's something going on. I say, well, what's going on? Because, I mean, my team don't play till 6. Well, it's not about football. It's not about football. It's just some guys. I said, okay, well. Okay. I say, is it the guys with those color shirts on, purple and gold? Okay, what happened? Oh, so the tickets can either be this or that. The last name or the full name with the doctorate included. So y'all make that decision. And I like that because a lot of times, so many times, every day we do it, what you'll do is you will dial back what you are so the others are comfortable. I can't say F that, but think about that. Tall guy got to come in. I had a guy tell me, 6'3", works with me now, former professional athlete. He says, I learned when I was young and I got tall, I have to de-escalate the situation when I walk in, so I got to walk in and I got to smile. So every day he lives his life like that. He walks into a meeting. He can have a bad night. You know the rules. We walked in here today. We knew what was going on. You go into your job. Okay, I don't want to be what I was when I got into the argument with old girl. She mad. Let me come and get these kids some positivity. But to have to go in and make sure, let me make them comfortable so I'm cool so I can go through my day. So that's a terrible feeling. It's a terrible feeling. Where is my water? It's some doctors at the table right now. They don't want to say nothing. Some doctors at the table right now. And they give guys fake doctorates all the time. Donate enough money to the school, whatever school you go to. Hey, you're a doctor of education. I ain't do nothing. You gave $100,000. Shut up. I am that. I guess I'll be there with 6 figures.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at, if you was able to be raised around your great-grandparents and stuff, they had to dial back their smarts, their titles and stuff just to survive. So it's kind of been stamped in us. We want certain situations that we dial back just so we can get through that situation, not have to deal with no extra drama that comes along with it. Because you got to look at it. Most of I didn't find out one of my uncles, great uncles, he built houses, all this like contract. Didn't find out till he passed that he had a 4-year degree from North Carolina A&T. But my thing is, a lot of them back there had a skill and a trade. They used whichever made the most money. So you didn't really find out about those titles, and they dial back the titles to keep people off their back.
Hey, that's another podcast, by the way. Skills versus trade. We'll talk about that later.
We kind of hit on that last week on the counselor episode.
That's that country dumb my great grandfather told me about. Yeah. He was around. He was 105, clear mind. Had put a long career in the railroad system. He moved up the system. However, he always told me about how to deal with them, how to be on time, how to scale back, don't be angry. It worked for him. He was the guy, went to work with a suit on, put on his scrubs, left work, put his suit on, went home. That's what he was known for. But he always tried to implement those things where it kind of worked for me when I became an adult, but at the same time, I was very uncomfortable because it was taken away from who I really was. So I understand that system. Country dumb, never let them know everything you know until it's time to make your move. And then when you do make the move, it's very impactful. So that was something I had to pretty much
goes all the way back to why you say 1.3%. This is why. We got to deal with so much just to come in the building. This is why. Listening to these guys, I could never.
So and we talked about that on episode 8 with the ladies and how we deal with the microaggressions from white women, not white men, but really white women for us. And so I noticed from experience with some of you how I don't want to say competition. Your problem is also the white women. Cause I don't know.
Whoa! Pause back. I have no problem with any women.
You know what
let alone white women. Chocolate all day over here.
Anyway, you know what I'm trying to
Everybody else left. I could make a joke, but okay, all black. I don't care what you like.
No.
I have no problems with white women.
I cannot stand you.
I have no involvings with white women. Unless it's professional.
I cannot stand you.
Hey, I'm gonna get an email tomorrow. So I heard about the white women. First of all, you listen to the podcast. Thanks for the download.
Yeah.
Did you tell your friends?
Tell your friends. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think just from experience of what he was saying this year, we watched a white student who had a knife in his backpack, and this particular person came and got him, took the knife out of his backpack. The little boy said, "Oh, I forgot I put it in there. I was eating steak in the room and I stuck it in there." But knowing this young man, we knew it wasn't the truth. The person set him in the AP seat and said, "I want you to be the principal, and you talk to me and tell me what you would do." And I just looked and said, "Wow, a kid who looked like me would have never got that opportunity." And next thing you know, another one of our kids who were, just gonna say not right in the mind, brought a water gun, and they try to put this kid off in a serious program outside of school, suspend him. But the little white kid only got 3 days of ISS, and the AP said, "Oh, he's good. His family's cool."
His family.
I always say like this when it comes to discipline anybody. I have to do this because I remember I'm 30 years older than them. I said, discipline them like you would discipline your own. So whatever ins and outs, all the rules you would know. Okay, I have a 13-year-old. If he did something ignorant and he's on the paperwork at school, how would you discipline your own? So now, how would you discipline that next kid? Because what we've all been taught is simply this. Inclusion. Inclusion is such a great word for our culture because you've always been taught how to include people. So when this young man has to give discipline, you have to do your thing. She does her thing. We all do our thing. We always don't want to do what? And I'm not gonna cuss. We don't want to F up a kid's life. That's our number one goal. Hey man, if I do this, I'm gonna da 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 da. But it is hard because I've had to make calls, backroom calls. I'm like, hey, you know, your boy trying to send somebody away for 30 days. Did you know? Oh, I didn't know. What'd he do? I'm sitting on the floor in the hallway. What'd you do? So you got an email over the weekend. It didn't happen in school. They're in trouble for that. Everybody get in trouble or nobody get in trouble. I'm down with both ways. But if everybody get in trouble for this, it wasn't on the grounds. It wasn't at, I almost said the damn address. Wasn't at where it was at. That's how I'm feeling emotional. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so when we go in to give discipline, we're coming in with a different aspect. I've seen all y'all discipline, 99% of y'all. So we like, you know, sometimes it might be a look. You better come get these. Hey, y'all come with me, right? What y'all doing in there? But other people forget that because they were never taught to look. And it's not down, but in their mind it's down. So when we educating and doing all this, they can give you any kid you want. You can have an all-white class, all-Asian class, all this class. What you going to do? You're going to do what you need to do. Everybody going to be like, that's still a cool teacher. They going to go about their day. Other folks not used to that because they inherently see some people as being bad people. So when bad things happen, that's what they get. They inherently see other people as good people. So when something bad happens to them, that's something bad that happens to a good person. That's not me. That's Tariq Nasheed. You might want to take that out. You might get canceled for that one.
Oh, God. Don't say his name.
But piggyback on what he's saying, coming from a 50-50 school, rural school, you know, my thing was I would just coach. So, and what I told the kids to make them seem at ease when I was black or white is I'm your dad here. I'm your coach. Since it's Father's Day,
Shouts out to us.
I'm gonna treat you like I treat my son. You see my son come through. I told him. You see how he act. So I expect you to act the same way. So that means if you do something wrong, we're gonna have a long conversation. You know, if you do it right, then I'm gonna pick you up. Because when we leave these premises for a game or anything, I'm your protector. So I gotta protect you as if you're my own child. Make sure you get back to your parent in the same order that they gave him to.
I'm glad you brought fatherhood. I'm sorry. I'm glad you brought fatherhood up because I wanted to say, again, going back to that episode, we talked about as Black women, the emotional toll, the emotional labor that comes with being a Black educator on a campus, but a Black woman educator on a campus because we always feel like we have to step in and be that motherly figure. We got to save everybody, the boys, the girls, everybody. What type of emotional labor or emotional toll goes into being a Black man on a campus when you're talking about, like he just said, discipline, making sure the kids are treated equally, making sure all the kids have a fair opportunity, knowing that, hey, kid may be going through something at home, there's no father there. How do you deal with that emotional toll and emotional labor that it takes being that father figure and the educator at the same time?
So let me jump in on the emotional aspect, because you know some people have been raised up as a man not to show any emotion, and many people believe as males, Black males, that the only emotion we show is anger. So that would be the first thing. That's not a burden we put on ourselves. That's when it's put upon us to disprove people that we're not the angry Black men. The same thing would be the same case with Black women, not to be the angry, loud, and not assertive, but angry Black woman that screams all the time, because that's what they think that we are. But the going in, there has to be a certain part of you there's the business. That's an emotion to me, having a business to me, being serious. That's not being angry. That's not being mean. That's just being direct, giving directions, giving instructions, saying what setting expectations. I sound like somebody that's in their classroom the first day of school, to be honest with you. But it goes in the classroom and outside. Everywhere you go, you're a walking structure. That's why I talk about setting your presence. So to me personally, it's not an issue to say, okay, this is what I have to be for these kids. That's not a stressor for me. What stresses me out is when I don't have anybody supporting me. I'm the only one that's trying to do that, right? I'm the piece of pepper inside the salt, if you want to put it on those kind of terms. I can't be the only one doing it. Like I said, it's a culture thing that happens inside of a school, and that's the same thing with a community. There's a culture that's out there. There's not enough of us that are in those positions or want to be in those positions because of the bullseyes. We don't want to be that person to step up to the front. Not saying we're not all leaders in here, but sometimes you got things you don't want to lose because of ignorant people. Yeah. And when you close your eyes, you don't want to go to sleep worrying about if they're going to try and take it from you. But you got to know how to defend it so you can go get those things and properly take care of your business.
And then, too, for handling the pressure, you got to look at it. The kids are already handling pressure of the backgrounds they come from. So you before as that, even though we get in trouble, you got to take that deep breath, analyze the situation. Same thing you do in the house with your young children running around your feet. You got different personalities. Same thing at school. So instead of 2 or 1, now you got 200 or 300 that's running around your feet. So you got to take that time and assess each situation, and that takes the pressure off. You know, if you take a minute, let them breathe, you breathe before you talk. Then you have just a general conversation sometimes before you get in that situation or what they did, because you got to find that background. It might not be nothing happened in school that caused that. They might have come to school upset, just like we was talking about the teachers come to school upset. So we got to just assess the problem. That takes some of the pressure off. But then what adds to the pressure is a situation. I had a young man. I worked there from F and D's to play basketball for me. And I watched a young white teacher about to put him back in the hole. Because if he went left, she went left. She was picking. But you know what? The Lord know when they ain't ready for that wrath you're going to bring. The Lord blessed her husband got restationed. Because I was about to carry her to the principal. But I watched this for about 2 weeks. He tried to avoid her. She found ways to get in his face. But when the Lord knows when things need to be changed. So, you know, that spiritual part still got to be in you if you believe in spirituality. It guides you through, keep some of that pressure off of you.
I'll say I've always been, like, as a teacher even and as an administrator, I've always been in schools where they're mostly affluent. And when I was a head coach, I was the only one that looked like me. When I was a teacher, I was the only one that looked like me. As an administrator, I've been on 2 campuses where I'm the only one. So then I quickly figured out I was somewhat brought here. Yeah, I was qualified, but I was brought here to fill a void for a certain reason. But what came with that was I'll fill your void. Like I don't mind doing that. But I'm also gonna turn the camera around on you. Because yeah, I can hold those kids accountable from A to Z, whatever they look like. I can help you do that. But I'm also gonna hold you accountable because you brought me here thinking, oh, okay, well, he is just gonna whip these kids into shape. Yeah, I can do that, but I'm gonna whip you into shape too. Right. Because sometimes it's not always the kid. Sometimes it is the adult. And being on a campus where I was the only black administrator on the campus, it's like, okay, well, he's here, so he's gonna get these kids straight. Yeah, I'll get them straight, but I want you to come in here too because they not the only one with a problem. You also have a problem, and it's a 2-for-1 with me. Yeah, I'll check your box. I know why you brought me here, and I'm cool with that. But I'm gonna check this box, and I'm gonna check you because you also have a problem with whatever the situation is. You have a hand in that as well. So it can be draining sometimes. Like it can be overwhelming, but I always think about the bigger picture. Like, why am I here? I was brought here for a reason. Like they picked me for a reason. So I'm gonna check their boxes, but I'm gonna check a couple of my own too, just to make sure that everything is being handled the way it should be.
That's just like, so everybody in here that knows me knows where I'm at now. There is not another person on my campus at all that looks like me. Not a one. There's not a single person on my campus that has any melanin at all. So, of course, when I get on campus now, with this, I'm going into my 3rd year there. Every time something go down, hey, can you come talk to such and such and such? It's not even my student. Like, why I'm talking to him? Oh, well, you know, the kid's just scared of you.
Oof. That one.
Like, we just talked about this topic a minute ago, but it's like, what does it do with anything? Like, you handle your class. Just because he acting up, you handle it. Like, stop trying to put him in the hallway. Stop trying to send him down there and tell me, hey, can you just talk to him today? He haven't. No, that's what admin is for. That's what such and such is for. And I remember one time I was supposed to do detention, but I was out of town. I was out the country. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Don't say that because you're a dope dealer. Because how can you afford to go out of the country? Carry
Streets
on.
is listening. He was in Colombia.
So they called me and they was like, we're so upset. We thought you were going to do detention today. All the kids were so scared that you were going to do detention. They thought they were going to actually have to do some work. Well, what about the other people that signed up for detention? Like, they don't do work when they in there with them? Like,
You're
why?
supposed to be the big black scary man.
It's the presence. It's the unicorn. It's the horn. So they see you in there, you like, what? I like you said earlier, somebody said earlier about their testing groups or their kids. I remember one time I said, wait a minute now. I go from 35 to 38. They go from 32 to 25. What's going on? I don't mind bad or whatever you consider bad. Can I get some new bad? Can I trade my bad? Hey, I'm going to give you 2 kickers and 1 cusser and give me one never comes back from the restroom.
The draft.
Can I get that? I'll take that. I just don't want to talk to the same ones I knew. And I see y'all, and what do they do? They come get you, and you're like, that's the gift and the curse of being great. They see everything you can do. They know what your presence is because your presence demands a hold on, and you gotta go. Okay, what you need? Like that's not my caseload. It's not even on my paperwork.
Man, it wasn't so bad, but
No, it was bad.
It
was bad.
The person in the self-contained class, he quit. District called and said, since you're the other behavior person on campus, you going in that self-contained room. And don't ask me, we're not gonna hire nobody else. You go.
Can I ask you a question? What'd you do? Did you go?
Oh, that's what
I'm not mad because the thing is this: other folks, them folks, they gonna whip out section 5A, 2B, sentence 3. Therefore, since someone has left their position, do not put me there. Amen.
They gonna use policy.
They know policy. What's your next question? I know.
We scared to use
Give me
policy.
some tissue and a drink.
Your drink of water.
There we go.
I told y'all again, I got a lot of them. I'm gonna pick on you now. I'm picking on everybody at the table. I'm pick on you. So somebody said something earlier. I think it was you that y'all are seen as angry black men, and y'all aren't seen to be. If you show emotion, you're perceived as this way. You show emotion, you're perceived as this way. I think one of the great things about fatherhood and working next door to you for so long is that I've actually seen your kids grow up. I've seen the reaction of the relationship you have with your kids. And one thing I love is that your students see it too. You have 2 sons and a daughter. Of course, your daughter is like baby girl. But even with your boys, you are so affectionate and so soft-spoken. I've never, ever, ever heard you raise your voice to your sons, ever, to your kids at all. Even when the baby girl throwing a temper tantrum, you are still, oh yeah, she can show out. You are still so very patient. And I think for your students to see, like, man, wait a minute, I got a black man that's a teacher. He's a math teacher. He's not coaching. He's just my teacher, but he's a father. He has kids that look just like me, and he's not raising his voice at them. He's not yelling at them. He's not cursing at them. He's not threatening to spank them or anything. I think that gives that connection to you. Like you can connect to any doggone kid ever, okay? Black, brown, green, purple, orange. You have that gift. But I think that's something that I love for our black and brown boys to see, especially those that don't have that at home, or those who may have a father at home, but it may not be a gentle parent like you are. And we got to make sure we clear that line between permissive parenting and gentle parenting. But I would say that you are the true definition of a gentle parent. And so when kids are looking at that, especially our boys, they're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. This is probably how I should be being talked to at home. This is probably when I'm able to be a parent one day, how I'm going to talk to my kids and how I'm going to handle my kids, and just your gift of patience. So when we talk about patience, I've seen you go off one time only. And we've been working together for like 7-8 years. One time only on the first day of school.
Yep.
To Funky Town. We remember call that little boy Funky Town.
Shouts out to Funky Town.
Shout
I hope you're doing a great. I hope wherever you at DFW Funky Town, you please hope you're doing your thing.
That was my baby. Like, boy, that boy was terrible, but he was my baby. And it was the first day of school.
And he had the booty hairstyles. Shouts out to Dallas, wherever you were. Y'all know what that crap is.
He had the little booty hump. He had the haircut.
He had the cut. He had the booty. He had the booty.
He had the shag. Yeah.
He had the shag.
But it was the first day of school. First day the building had been open. We were the first people to step foot in the building And it's like 4th period. And I'm like, oh, it's so quiet and peaceful. It's time to go to lunch. And then I just hear you in the hallway screaming. And I'm like, first of all, something's wrong, because this man don't ever raise his voice at all.
Pimpin' don't scream.
Never raises his voice.
Pimpin' don't scream.
And so I stepped out in the hallway, and you going in on him. Like, and I was like, oh, snap. This is our first day on the job. This is our first day in the building. we finna all be fine. Because when on our highway, when one go, we all gotta go.
Everybody
So we all finna go there. Because who done made you act up like this? And that was a one time and one time only. I don't think you ever had an issue with that kid
No.
again
We
after
didn't
that.
have any issues.
But I think he was so used to pushing boundaries and pushing the limits and not expecting people to snap back at him, because where he came from, he was running shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that first day of school check. And I don't want to say we were saved. Nobody administration wise was up in the hallway, and we were kind of all there to like, all right, we're gonna kind of like, all right, go back in the room, diffuse the situation. But what happens when you have to go there, because oftentimes y'all have to go there, and you are used as the muscle, you are used as the campus bully, but then when you go there, you're not supported or you're not protected?
You answer the question because she asked you first with your story.
Okay, so first going in, I think
I said a lot of stuff at one
what
time,
you're
I'm sorry.
given has to be a show. You can't actually allow yourself to go red. So
Okay.
all that I'm giving is a show so that you understand that if I need to go there, then I can go there.
Okay.
So if it's a show, everything is you're conscious of everything you're doing.
There you go.
So I know every word that's coming out my mouth. I know the space that I'm giving you. I know who's around me. Everything. I'm conscious of everything going on. So I'm still in control of the situation. If I go red, if you get in my bubble, I don't know what's gonna happen. So I have to make sure that at all times this is just a show. I think that's the start of it. And then just understanding. I think the biggest is the words that come out of your mouth.
Ooh.
Because once they come out, they can never come back in. So just playing chess the entire time. What am I saying? How is it received? Who's seeing it? Where am I at? It's all important.
And been the alpha male. I'm not talking Greeks or anything. I'm just saying, like, you gotta let kids know early. So, like, I knew Funky Town, and wherever Funky Town was at, he was the guy. He ran it. I knew his background. I knew who he lived with, who he didn't live with, plus or minus the male situation and percentages. So, if you ever studied the animal kingdom, I always refer to the animal kingdom. When you get to what they call breeding age, elephants, primates, they send you away. They say, you go fool with them other ones that just to start to smell themselves. And when you want to come back and take over, you come holler at me.
Yeah.
And Funky Town wanted to holler early about what he wanted to run. And Mr. Math Happy Hour over here, who, first of all, math tutorials,
On a
doing
Friday.
my happy hour time. I say, really? And I see him over there with the chalk. It ain't even the chalk, whatever. And so for you to say that story, it was that made or broke your year for that class period, that kid. And we forget that kids, just like wayward women, now I'm gonna get fired for this, whatever.
Don't watch your mouth.
Sometimes need to be coerced and shaped and let learn. That's the word I've been drinking to say wayward women. And you guys, sometimes a kid wants to know that you run the show. They know the deal. Like, I'm 13, you whatever. I'm gonna go try some stuff, but this your class? And you go, this is my class. They go, hey, this coach class. Or this is Mr. Such and Such's class. And those gonna be the best people, because I've walked into your class with the same ones I've seen in PE with another person. I'll go, wait a minute. You just walk in and grab the warm up, do the warm up, sit down and tell the other one to shut up when they talking too much. That's how this runs, coach. I go, oh, okay. So I can tell what that teacher or that person has done. But sometimes you gotta just check these young bulls, because they think that they grown, and ain't nobody here grown but me. I'm the only one getting paid with insurance.
Sometimes you gotta check your coworkers too, though. Because I went through a little situation right before Christmas that when they moved me to the self-contained class, the parent in there went and ran her mouth to some people that she didn't think were cool with me and said, hey, he don't do shit. I said, oh. So people came back, they tell me what's going on. I said, well, since I don't do shit, I'm going back to my other class. And I left out of there for 2 weeks. And every day, that lady got on that walkie-talkie calling, hey, can I come get some help down here? I said, and at the end of the semester, she sent me a text. She's like, hey, can we talk? Da-da-da. I said, yeah, we can talk. And she said, I just want to apologize for what I said. Da-da-da. I said, now you see that I do shit. Because when I'm sitting, they may not do no work in this class, but damn it, they sitting down. They may not do no work, but they sitting down. They may cuss, but they ain't up running around. They not fighting. They sitting down.
I had to think real quick because that word pressure, you used it. It's been on my head. I'm trying to think when I've actually felt pressure from being that. I'm in a corner, and I was strategically put in the corner right by some steps, to help kind of move traffic along
and prevent the adulting from adulting.
Right, some stuff like that. So, but you could have put me in the middle of any place. I'm gonna do that wherever I go. So that's the difference for the higher ups. That works for them. Put me anywhere. That's what I'm gonna do. And I think that's kind of what we miss with black men. That we can do this greatness anywhere you put us, but you don't recognize our greatness. I'm gonna leave that alone. So, no. So I get to sit there, and I think the pressure comes from this. There'll be a kid knocking at my door. Oh, I'm sorry, I did. Knocking at my door. Like, I don't know you. How can I help you? I teach what I teach. I don't teach. What's your name? How you spell that? What? I don't know you, kid. Miss so and so. I've never heard of Mr. So and so send nobody to my class. Let me put that out there too. I've never heard of Mr. Somebody send a kid. And if I do, then me and him are gonna have a different conversation about the mention.
Because they risk.
Oh, no, I do.
No, it's just whoever has the best relationship. It's not really gender based. I'm just saying that I haven't experienced that. So when the mystery kid, because I don't know who they are, shows up, it's not like I'm taking people off the street and feed them and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, what are you doing here? I didn't know you were. I ain't looking at my phone. I ain't get a text. What's going on? Miss So and so said I need to come talk to you. She know I'm not the talking type of strangers, right? I don't talk to strange kids. If I have to talk to you, it's to correct you. I don't just be like, hey, good morning. I kind of stay in my lane, But when there's trouble, I'm there. So when that pressure comes when I rectify whatever situation that kid is having in that moment. Because, kids have like hot flashes. They be having moments, bro. And you come in there, you douse them out, right? They go right back to a situation. The next class period. A whole nother teacher, and it's back to square one. And then it's like, well, what are you doing? I hate to say it like that. Like my man said, you got to hold your coworkers accountable too. Say, man, what are you doing over there that every other day or every day, this young man that does the same crap, behavior is repetitive. It has to be checked to change it to something else. If you don't have nothing to give that child to do to check the behavior, they're going to do the same thing. So why am I God and you not? In your classroom, why am I ruling things? Why can't we get that together and work together to make sure that kid is successful everywhere you go?
Well, you got some when they don't want certain kids in the classroom, they're going to push that button the first time they walk in that classroom to get them out of there. I ran into that situation. I actually talked to my principal. I'm like, as you get educated, right? And how we was talking earlier, we don't talk about what education we have. When I was getting my master's, I'm like, I'm sitting here going through all this stuff, from experience and from what we got in the classes. And I'm like, this is a veteran teacher, so why she ain't got better control of her classroom? Why she ain't doing this and this and this? And we always hear on a regular basis, you need to have classroom management. You need to get a relationship with your kids. But then find out, only reason you down here because you can't go to no other school. Because of what you did in the last school.
Hold up.
So therefore, and then on top of that, her former principal became my assistant track coach and said she was the worst teacher in his school. So therefore, now I see why you down here from glory down the bottom, because you ain't got nothing else to go to. But my thing is, if you really love kids and education, you will not keep pushing the kid button just to get them out your classroom. A child's not bad every single day.
Nope.
You have different emotions each day, so why that kid doing the same thing in your classroom? So I need to look at you for your teaching techniques, and I'm supposed to be a rookie compared to you. But I'm looking at him and knowing that you ain't giving him what he needs. We supposed to be there to feed the kids, but your thing is before he even take a bite, you pull his tray from him. So how you supposed to feed in your classroom if you keep taking his tray from him? You don't even get to sit at the table to eat.
Sheesh.
So.
Wade in the water. Wade in the water. This is why you can't have dudes.
Please.
Because I want to drink and take it, wipe my eyebrows and my goddamn eyes. Because it's true.
Get over
But we are going to pass the collection plate around.
He's so silly. So, first, thank you for saying that, because let me shout out the sponsor again of today's episode of BDA Basketball Determination Avenue, a great AAU organization, developmental AAU organization in the Pearland area. Actually, one that my two children started with when they were developing in their basketball skills. Love Coach Carey, patient organization that they run over there. So thank you again for sponsoring today's episode. But let's go back to the black male students. I know we talked about Funky Town, and I love that kid. Was he busted? No, he wasn't busted. We called him Funky Town.
No, Funky Town is Fort Worth. So they call it Fort Worth.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm about to say y'all wrong.
No. Never. First of all, he was the flyest. Like you never.
The ladies loved him.
They loved him. You were never gonna smell. No, baby, he was clean.
All right.
Clean.
Just making sure y'all.
Yeah.
He was dating both cousins.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
We loved him.
He got his nickname. I said, where you from? He go, Fort Worth. I say, Funky Town. He go, yeah, you know.
And
I say, now give me one of them cigarettes I know you got in your back pocket. And let's light this up and talk about how the year gonna go.
Cools everywhere you go.
Hey, on Thursday after school started, what happened? You know, the math teacher real strong. I say, pass me the lighter, bro. It's true. That's a joke. That's a joke. Nobody knows. But he was one of those young men that was so grown that you had to always remind yourself he's not grown.
Mm-hmm.
He's had to grow up grown.
Fast. Mm-hmm.
He's had to be the male in a lot of situations. But we was always like, yo, bro, like, we need you to do these 3 things so these 5 things don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
He did 2 of the things.
He did.
Go to your next question.
He did.
You got good notes.
I do have. Well, we ain't even talking about any of my notes. It's okay. But speaking of kids like Funky Town, how do y'all actively engage black male students, knowing that they already have these preconceived notions, the negative connotations that go along with being a student? Like,
well, can I say this? It's not the preconceived negative connotations. It's more that when they see you, they automatically think you're part of the family. So a lot of times, I don't have to talk to them about education. I got to get them to understand the relationship. Like, hey, they come to meet you. You know, when I was teaching history, I had my suits on, and like Doc over here, I had my tie on and show up to give the best I had with those that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, how you doing? Give them the business shake. And they want to hit me with the 3. I say, hey, no. It's the first day. Look what my little name tag say, businessman, you know. Hit me, trying to get them to understand, because a lot of times our students, and it's really because of the parents, and I will charge the parents of this one, have to learn how to adapt to situations. I've been around your children, Richmond's 4 finest. They can be right at the table with this. Nothing leaves the table. Or if they're still there, you look at them and they go, or anybody can say, grown folks business, y'all get out of here. You don't look at us twice. So a lot of times the kids' behavior is based on what their parents are doing. So when they meet you, they go, oh, what's up, dude? And I got to go, hold on. We haven't developed the handshake yet, but I'm going to give you the business. Meet me at my thumb and shake that hand. So a lot of times for black males, I've had more issues getting to understand, yeah, I know I look like your cousin. No, I look like, you know, whoever you might bring around, but Amy. What's your mama name? Amy. Here's $3. And then, so I have a lot. I've had to deal with that because you are so cool to them. You like my 6th period this past year. Every period, 6 periods always. I'm like, oh, I'm so ready to go. I'm on 7th period. They come to me, and every one of those guys, he knows because he's coming there. Everybody, hey coach, you ain't getting my dab today. Coming here late. Hey, coach, you ain't getting my dab today. I got to go to the restroom. Hey, coach. I say, you ain't touch it. Wash your hands, brother. Air 5 on the dab. I know what y'all are doing. But so we don't talk about already having an end. Because I always tell white teachers, you know, there's an inherent distrust of certain black kids in a white teacher because of the relationship from the past of how it works. So that's really my biggest thing when it comes to black males in schools. Sometimes you got to pull them aside. Everybody's had that pull them aside. Now, he had the in front of the classroom aside.
He had to go off.
But you have to do that because once you checked him, everybody was like, oh, he ain't playing around. Let's get this first out in last. They call that's foil, right? That's the math. That's as much as I remember.
You know what's beautiful about that, though? He had to do it outside the class. You might come around the corner and help bring it back down with what he was trying to tell you and this and that. And this and that. I love that about our circle, man, that no matter what happens, we always got each other back and bring it around. And then that kid is going to come back and say, I understand why you did what you did.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody who's grown tell you something for a reason. The stove is hot. Now, you can touch it or you can believe what I said. The stove is hot. I'm going to give me another water.
You're going to get another water.
I think to me, one of the saddest things about teaching young black boys is that they have this notion that they can't be too intelligent. Like there has to be some boundary where if they go past it, then it's like a no-go zone. Right. So I've had boys in my first period, special ed students, knew every answer that I asked them. But after a point in time, he wouldn't allow for me to point on. He wouldn't allow me to call his name. Or if I did, it'd be like, no, I don't know. And then you'd press him, and eventually he'd give the right answer, act like he just accidentally stumbled upon it. But I think that's the saddest thing. And in that same class period, I had a young man who should have been in Algebra 1, but is in a co-teach class because he just felt like doing above the level mathematics was beyond him. He shouldn't have. He should be sticking to something that was a little bit easier, and he was bored out of his mind. So I think that's an issue that I have for our young black boys, is just they don't feel like it's a necessity to be smarter than everyone in the classroom, and that they have to dumb themselves down so that they're somewhere in the middle. Not the dumbest kid in the room, but I can't be the smartest either.
I talked about this before with my own son, my now 21-year-old, that, has been labeled gifted all of his life, went through all the classes, went to high school, did the dual credit program, did the, I think he was doing the EMT program at the same time. So, after a certain time of the day when you go to this class, you got to put your uniform on, your boots, blah, blah, blah. But he also played football. And so we were having problems. This started when he was in middle school. The GT Academy at Quail Valley, I think at the time, was like upstairs. The other people were downstairs. It's something crazy. But being late to class because you don't want your friends to see you going into the smart classes, or having your butt downstairs when you really should have been upstairs with the GT Academy. Getting into high school, I'm talking about senior year, okay? I got the teacher calling me because you got 50 million tardies, because what you do is wait until all your football player friends go in the classroom, and then you go put your uniform on. Or you just straight up say, I ain't putting it on, and that's points off, because you don't want, they're clowning you. They're making fun of you because you're intelligent. Or why you going into, this your second year of English, college English, but you are a junior or whatever. They're clowning you. So I'm going to be late, or I'm going to skip because I don't want them, and I'm like, boy, like, are we serious right now? But that goes to what you were saying. It's not cool to be smart. How can I be gangster and be smart at the same time?
Because what does our culture show us that we look up to the people with the money?
The rappers and the trappers.
And the rappers and the trappers, all of them then dropped out in 6th grade, 7th grade. But I remember, I never forget it, Barack Obama gave a speech and he said, you may not be the next Lil Wayne. You may not be the next LeBron James. And for that, you need to be in school. But see, kids don't hear that. All they hear is the lyrics that say, I'm out there on the corner with 10 stacks in my pocket, moving this 8-ball.
Well, see, the whole game of what's cool, and I know you're going to go, I know you're going to talk, that hasn't changed, but I remember when I was in school, and I went to a middle school in A-Leaf, right when it had really got chocolate, and my parents, they are still married, and, their names. And so I remember I was never afraid of the principal nor the students, my fellow peers. I got called white boy. So this was the thing. He was 43 years old. To have a good education, see how we were raised, and to talk a certain way, speak, and just have my grades. Hey, man, you act like a white boy. I say, I'm acting like a white boy because I'm doing my work. It's the trick you've been told. I'm acting like a white boy because I'm doing whatever. So think about that. So if I had a kid when I was 20, my kid would be 23. So as you raise your kid, you might have been raised with that. If you're doing it right and you're doing that, you acting like them, and that ain't cool. Which I'm like, nah, I'm not going home and deal with such and such and such and such. I'm gonna get these A's and these B's. You call me white boy every day. It is what it is. And two, we do know a lot of 100,000-aires and millionaires, whatever we want to call them. But the streets are enticing because it's quick and it's cool. We see it in basketball. We see it in sports. That what is the attraction to, well, and you know what? He really ain't even, that's a whole nother podcast. I'm not even gonna get on that one. But my thing is this. The music is the music. I grew up with Rambo and Schwarzenegger, all them guys, and we understood what was false, what was true. But it's just something about the and I hate to say that the own music has made it what it is, because your house should tell you what it is. I know your children. I know what they listen to. I know all of them. And they listen to all the rapping and trapping. And ain't none of them rapping and trapping.
Better not be.
Every time I see one of them, I go to a workplace, I say, hey, what's up, man? Hey, get that guy $20 on the tip. But you get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times, so much of what we have is the household. Because when I sit and look at guys right now, we grew up with the rapping and trapping and all this, and we've not raised now kid on rapping and trapping. I wish you would go out there and rap and trap.
What you got, Kay?
Well, I'm just saying, I've seen the difference. I came from a place where you had two points. you were either going to be the best or the smartest, or you didn't care because the household was just straight street action. So when I came here, I had a big culture shock. I never was, kids were drawn to me, were ready to listen to what I had to say, I guess because how I carried myself. I took where I came from and brought it here and had my own flavor. So the kids were more drawn to me. I work at a school where it's a lot of black and brown.
Mm-hmm.
I work at a school where mostly all the coaching staff look like me. But so we were able to draw these kids in. I work in a school that's probably, I guess, privileged, more privileged than others. And I come from a second generation of my kids I teach, the black kids, come from second generation professional athletes, musicians, doctors, lawyers. So they're more in tune. So I have a different type of perception of what's going on because I didn't get jumped into those schools that needed the need for me. Right. I just was put in a school where it was like, this is what my standard is, this is where I need to go because these guys have a background to show us where we need to go. So I don't have a pushback from black and brown. And then, unfortunately, the Anglos, I like to use that word, they tried to emulate the black and browns where I'm at. So it's easier to transition to do what I need to do to make those kids draw into, they know college is what's going on. Trade school is more for, if the kids, because I don't push college, but I try to let all these kids know is, you know what, you have a lot of options, because I tell them, the kids where I come from, they will beg to have computers in their class. They will beg to have books in their classroom. So I tell them, y'all can't do this, because I've seen what the worst of the worst is. I'm from the bottom three, so you can't act like that. And I guess because how I carry myself, how I speak to them, how I, just move around my energy, they're able to draw in and try to emulate and move on to try to be better. So that's just my difference, seeing what I've gotten when I've moved here from where I came from. So it's just different for me.
So I think for some of our kids, though, there's educational trauma from the parents. So growing up, I know a lot of parents who, and thinking about their experiences in school, right? And so in junior high and high school, their core teachers beat them down, called them dumb, tried to put them in sped even though they knew how to do all the stuff. But then who looked out for them? The coach, right? The coach is the one who looked out for them, knew that they were more than what they were showing at school. And so what does that transition to? Well, when I'm raising my kids, right, you might not be good at math. It's cool, right? I made it without math. I could do without ELA. You don't need no science. But make sure you're good to coach, right? Make sure you're good on the court, on the field. Right, right. Because at the end of the day, coach is going to look out for you. So I think a lot of that has transitioned because of what parents have gone through in their educational setting. And they don't realize that teachers are so much different than what they were in the 80s and 90s, right? Or for some parents, still the 70s. So a teacher now, is told to build those relationships. In the 80s and 90s, I didn't know who my teachers were. They came in, they taught, they left the room.
They weren't coming to none of your game. They weren't doing all of that stuff that we be doing.
No,
exactly.
No, they might know your name. So the aspect of what a teacher is and how a teacher teaches has changed, but I think the parents are still living in this universe that they lived when they were coming up in school.
Oh, and since we're talking about how that education is not, for something to be smart and all that stuff, but I used to go around giving presentations. So what I did was, at that age time, I went through and pulled out some of the rappers because I knew their background. Like since hometown here, Slim Thug, right? Everybody looking at here for a rap and all that stuff. And
Hello, Slim Thug.
And I pulled out a couple others, so I asked the kids, what does he do? First thing say, oh, he a rapper, he do this, right? I'm like, what do he really do? What's his background? Where does money come from and stuff like that? Because and I told him, do you realize he's a real estate mogul at the time? Because he just came out and was talking about what all he do. And then I brought some of the other ones because you figure like you got of course KRS-One's not ones for now, but
we showing your age.
You pull out, you pull out some of the ones like the ones that's educated now that's out there rapping. A lot of them don't know that background. All they know is that trap rap they putting out and make that money. But a lot of them have transitioned over to it. So you got to point it out to the kids. They use this as an avenue. But look where they don't transition over to. They don't look at that transition. They just look at what they see present, what they see on the videos and what's in media.
I think it goes back to what you said earlier about it being an act, like emphasizing to these kids And I do it in my ELA class. Like, hey, this is alliteration. Like, all of this is writing. These are writers. These are literary geniuses. You just try to spin it that way and let them know, like, hey, this is an act. Like, they're not really going out and banging all the hoes. They are going home to their wife and their 4 kids when they're done with this. Well, okay. I don't know. Maybe some of them are going.
Breaking news from the streets. Rappers are out here fucking these hoes. You can edit that out if you want to.
Please edit that out.
Where the ladies at? Shouts out to Zion Williams.
Anyway.
Edit that out.
One of the kids challenged me, talking about, well, his rap is good and all that stuff. I'm like, he's not an intelligent rapper. Oh, he intelligent. I'm like, look at the words he put together. He only got basically 3 sentences he's saying over and over. Now look at this rapper. You see, he got a whole list of stuff. Look at the words he used. That's another reason you have to go to English class. Learn a new vocabulary. So you can expand your rapping ability so it'll be better than what you got now. You stuck on 3 sentences trying to go through.
Speaking of Funky Town and rapping, I'm gonna go back to Funky Town.
Is he rapping?
No, but
I'm ready to support.
Well, I don't know. I have a video of Funky Town in my phone. I'll show it to y'all later. But I did a poetry lesson, and I made the kids create like this whole poetry book, and they had to go through like the 14 different types of poems, and they had to write and recite one of their 14. And so I think Funky Town did like a sonnet. Okay, crazy. We'll go into the definition later. But so he's sitting on my desk and he put his sonnet to, maybe it was a Joe song. I want to know, I don't know, something old his ass that had no business listening to, okay? But just him making the connection and me telling him, okay, hey, you need to have this many lyrics, this many syllables, this many this. Funky Town didn't give a damn about no poetry, about doing any of that stuff, but that was so fun to him. And then when I'm like, hey, your vocabulary word has to be, an 8th grade level or higher. They got a list. You have to use only words from this list and up. But it gave them like a love for, oh, wait, this is rap.
You met them where they was at.
Always.
That's part of that's part of teaching. Like when I taught history, whatever we do, what we do. PE, karate, I don't care what you teach, math. How does it relate to me now? So Funky Town probably spent 7, 8, 9, not 9 yet, but at that time maybe 7 years of never having an assignment that he actually had control over, but we know it's structure control. They tell you all the time, when you're out there teaching, give them 3 things. They can song, they can poem, they can rap, they can whatever. So you gave it to me, like you said, he didn't care about the structure, but he did it because now I get to express myself. So that's that differentiating teaching we speak of. And then we give them a star test, so come sit down, look at this computer.
And ain't none of that shit on there.
Ain't none of that. But what I'm saying is that when you realize what a student is going through, what they're doing, and you make that connection, that student will never forget you. So I used to show CNN 10, first 10 minutes of school. But the first thing I realized was you better read the transcript because it's talking about everything. So I had a student who was from Syria, and this is right when the Syrian war was going on. And so I did it, and he was like, we're going to talk about Syrian war, and I cut it, and we went to something else. And she looked at me, and she was like, Coach, why'd you do that? I say, because I know that you're dealing with things right now. And she's like, thank you, Coach. I appreciate that so much. You have to be able to find those little things when it comes to students. So even though it might have been an assignment you do all the time, it might be that one assignment that grabs that one kid that says, you know what? Now I fool with education because you know what? I see that this makes sense. Look at Jay-Z talk about his language teacher, his English teacher, and all the stuff. You have to be a wordsmith in these games. I don't care if it's the baby, little baby, all the babies, whatever. You have to be able to put together a structure, some words, something that rhymes, find your target audience. And when we get these assignments in class or you do something that they're attached to, or you can get out your hubris and say, you know what, why don't y'all go ahead and make the quiz for this week? Why don't y'all go ahead and make the test for this week? And let me see what you do. You're like, wow, y'all really know this stuff. It's not like seeing kids tutor kids.
You know what's funny? Some of these kids are smarter than what you think.
Oh, yeah.
So me working in SPED, I have a kid who, he started a little mess off in some classes. And he, not the one y'all thinking of, this is one of the ones, but he was sitting there and he was like, well, Rev, listen, check this out. This little girl got mad at me and I told her, hey, listen, you the one getting called up to the tables in the small groups. So everybody knew what the small group was. Small groups were considered not the smart kids. And it was going around the school where they were talking about, yeah, he in a small group, she in a small group. And I'm like, the first thing about education, what they try to say is don't let let nobody else know who the sped kids are, but yet we doing these little groups that's pointing out these are your slow kids. But just to say that, I mean, in my class, I allow them to come and talk. I leave my door open, as Bruno Mars said. And they come in. And now I got a couch off in there, so they come in, they sit, and they just talk. One little boy in particular, I didn't know him at all. I came to work, he was standing at my door, and I'm like, okay. And I opened the door, he walked in, he sat on a chair. I said, what's going on, man? He introduced himself, and he said, I just lost my grandpa. And I was like, wow. I started thinking, I'm blessed for him to be able to come and choose me and feel comfortable enough to come sit in a room and say he lost his grandpa. And he sat there, he cried some tears, and I told him it's okay to cry. I said, hey, I lost my brother 2 years ago. I cried. I said, that don't make you less than a man. And he sat there and he talked, and then he just, all right, I'll talk to you later, and he left. And every day he would just stop by, no reason at all, stop by, come say hello. And I realized sometimes if you leave that door open, where they feel like they can come and talk to you and you're not going to judge them and you're going to encourage them, come on. You know, what they say, everybody at the gas station ain't filling up. You know?
$3 on two.
Yeah.
So,
I need a receipt.
So when they come into your room, I mean, we can, like they say, which 1.3 may be learning something, the rest of them ain't knowing nothing. But they come in there, a lot of them just want to be encouraged because it takes a positive and a negative to start a battery. So sometimes we got to be that positive in that kid life.
Can I jump back? My brother, the math magician, over here, we like to call him. He got many names now. Added another. Congratulations again, too. Thank you. Not wanting to be looked at as being the smart kid, I realized this year in particular that students were looking at me as the example of what a smart black man looks like. You know, I come in with those shirt and ties because I can't. I'll be honest with you, as an administrator, I was made to wear a shirt and tie like every day with my last assignment. And that's all I have in the closet. I'm trying to catch up. And these shirt and ties are everywhere. Like, you only got so many white shirts, right? But the kids are looking at me. They looking me up and down like they'll watch my man's attire. They'll watch all of us, to be honest with you. They know what watch you wore on Tuesday. They know what kind of shoes you were wearing. They know what color your socks. Well, you parked in that spot. Aren't you supposed to be parking in that spot? Your normal spot. I was going to leave, get away from my car. Oh, I said my name.
It's okay.
But
hold on. Okay,
so they know exactly your habits. So to have kids after my lesson say, are we done? Okay, you want me to stop talking to you? But they're more interested in saying, okay, I have another question, but it's about you. Like, why am I the topic of conversation every day, every class period, different ones? And like, I'm just confused. Why are you here? So like you asked the question earlier about the why. They're like, well, you have all these degrees. I saw you put your degree up here from your master's, and they call me doctor. I don't have a doctorate, but I guess I carry myself like I have. That's him over there. That's the mystery man himself. But the kids, they see us as being the perfect example of what that educated black man looks like. So when going back to something you said, Mrs. Host, Madam Host, about how do we make this more glamorous? That might be a strange word to use for education, because education is not a glamorous pursuit. It's a servant industry. You know, you're serving the public. It's you're making a public servant. So to make it look like a shiny, bright object to work in, first you're gonna be playing yourself thinking this is where the diamonds are. The diamonds are what you get at the end of that long process with these kids. The work is what it is. It's work, right? So going along with that, how can you we're the example of what it looks like to be the smart, being acceptable to be smart. And they're trying to figure out how you're able to do it. You could be anywhere. Why are you teaching us? You could be doing anything, man. You play sports, because a lot of coaches come to teaching because they're trying to find a way to give back. They've been taking care of themselves and doing like this. I got championships.
Like,
I've been dunking on people. You see that time I got Shaq? You know, we have all these war stories that kids can relate to, but they're still trying to figure out why you're here. You know, you could be anywhere doing that, something out your reputation, but you're here doing social studies. You're doing PE. You're doing behavior, SPED classes. That don't match for them. So they're going to ask us 20 questions, but we're the ones that make it acceptable. We're the ones, the examples they have on what it should look like, and that we're probably the shiniest and most attractive part of education. It's us.
I think then you got to break it down to them and be like, you know, when they ask you those questions, okay,
as that point bridge builders. You know, we always keep building the bridges for our future kids. You know, our thing is like we had examples. Like I'm an example to you now. I had examples when I was in school. So I'm here to take up that post to support that bridge to get you across.
I almost feel sometimes it's like an obligation. I hate to use the word obligation, but I know for me, we all could be doing something else, all right? But I feel like it's my duty. I'm obligated. It's my purpose to be here looking out, of course, for all kids, but definitely for ours. Don't tell this man equipment up. But looking out for our kids, right? Because if there were no us on the campus, and especially if there were no you, the 1.3%, what would happen to kids, but these black kids? Like, what would happen to these black male students?
Well, look what happened 60s, 70s with the government, how they took the programs away from the communities when our forefathers were putting those steps in to try to give back and teach us the right way. They took those things out of schools. Now, one thing I do like about here is they do have these opportunities here for these kids to explore themselves, but we are that gap. I feel like I'm that gap. I didn't have that generation above me to give me that because of what happened through the pandemic, the epidemic, from the Reaganomics, the 80s, the 90s, where a lot of the father figures were going from the homes, thrown in jail for minor charges, and it was the disconnect. So I feel that my era, hip-hop era, I'm 79, I'm from the 80s, 90s.
That's our 79.
I feel like it was a responsibility to bridge that gap to the next generation, because we all see where the next youth, I think we see all where the youth are going, the direction they're going, and they need these structured minds, these realistic goals to try to connect themselves. I had a conversation with my son. He has these outlandish goals, but I try to keep him in the reality. Like, this is what you need to do. These are the steps you have to have in case things don't go the way you want. Reach for the stars, but if you reach for the stars and miss, let's fall on the moon. You're still high. You're still floating above all. So I feel like it's my responsibility to bridge that gap, because it was taken away, because I did have people to emulate, but I didn't have those hands-on to direct me. But because I was able to see those different men to emulate and where I wanted to go, I was able to figure it out and be like, this is a safe place. This is a positive direction where I could be an integral part of not only my community, my place, my state, but for anybody who I come into contact with. So I think that's where the big part is for us. As I look like around the table, we're all around the same age group, that is very important to help bridge that and take them to that next level where their parents may have missed out from that they're part of. So that's just a little piece.
To add a little bit to your question, two things will happen if the 1.3% disappear, and it's more than that when we count the strength of the black women in education, because we cannot dismiss that.
Thank you.
But without shout out to us, two things happen to our children. We have crafty parents who, similar to a very big district next to ours, will find a place to put their students and will thrive. Just because their students are strong, they have a strong household, and those students will thrive. The rest will fall to the wayside, and no one will miss them. And that's the saddest part about it, is that they will get pushed out, because that's the way the system works. If you can't show up to school, we'll find a way for you to withdraw so that you're no longer on our attendance.
Because we're not getting money from you, so
we don't get money from you. Right. You don't help us get paid. So therefore, when you disappear, good luck.
Or you're not playing sports for us, so you're not benefiting us
and you
at
don't
all.
play sports.
It's a whole nother podcast.
Hey. And especially if you're a senior and it's past December.
Yeah.
You're good.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah,
You're
I don't
done.
need you anymore.
You're done.
So two things happen, and the saddest part is we are there, So two things. So one is those sets of students who will thrive, they will not thrive as much as they could have if we were not around. So yes, they can still survive. Yes, they'll still pass. But there will be a lack of individuals to push them to the next level. And then there will be no one for those who get pushed to the wayside.
And we have to remember, our 1.3 culture is the culture of the United States. So when you're on campus, you almost kind of justify what's popping. So they have a certain kind of program, they look at you. They have certain kind of things, they look at you. Because remember, social media and the internet has changed what the openness to culture is. All those dances, all that stuff, all that speak, everybody getting tans. We don't talk about all that. That's our culture. So when the 1.3 is missing, it's like, wait a minute. First of all, I can't connect with anybody with me visually. So like we do have a parent just came in. I know what he's doing in his child's life. He's doing a great job, and that's awesome. Now then when that child comes to us, you would hope that he knows when I'm sending him to y'all, that there is somebody who understands the culture. Now, there are people who are not skin folk that understand the culture, and there are people that are skin folk that don't fool with us at all. But you want to see representation, because where some of us work, we're very melanations. I say that with an S like my dad would say it. So I watch people of other cultures gravitate to those who look like them. It's not racism. It's simply because, okay, I assume that the person that looks like me has my culture. So when the kids walk in and they see us, and they could be anything from Western Asia, Middle East doesn't exist, Western Asia, to whatever, and they see, they go, wait a minute, okay, you're talking like I like how they talk. You're doing what you're doing, how they do. I like the braids, I can't do that. And they like everything about you, from the lotion to the goddamn eyebrows.
Yeah.
And if that,
and the nails.
And if that, and to the nails. And because American culture is our culture, that's the dominant culture. So when they see us, it's like, cool. What I'm doing, what I'm seeing is justified. When we're missing, it's a big gap. And I mean, whatever little piece it is, because I'm good for what I'm good for. He's good for what he's good for. I know when I walk down the hallway, I smell fancy cologne. I know who been there. That guy's
the
great.
Rev.
I know who the Rev is. And so what I liked about today's probably 5-6 episodes, however many you chop them up into, was that you gave us the opportunity for guys. And when I say we don't have a voice, we have a voice, but you don't get the platform to have your voice. So people might say, I didn't hear Mr. Mysterious a lot. I've talked enough. But listen to this guy, that guy, who probably never had a chance to talk. And so when he talks, I get out the way and I want to listen to what they're saying, because it is something beautiful. It is something great. And we are role models if you are a teacher. And here's why. The minute you decide.
You know I was going there.
Yeah, I know. The minute you sign, segue, the minute you sign the contract, but before that, when you made it, I'm going to say this because Rev here, when you made a covenant before God to say, I'm going to teach, guess what? You're now in charge of others. So when you go in there, you have to be mindful of everything you do, everything you say, how you dress, because they'll know. I'll cut the beard off. Coach, you cut your beard off. Coach, you got a haircut. You switched up the shoes. They watch it. And they put on you what they think is great about the world. Hey, coach, man, you got a kid, you married? I say, well, in the real world. Oh, what do you mean? And you have to, because you want to know how good it is being a teacher, where you sit on the podium, they have you up there.
Yes, they do.
Now, you don't get paid for it like that, but they have you up there. If they see you anywhere not teachery, which is not even a word, what you doing? I was buying beer, and then a kid walked by. Oh, my God. What is red stripe with a Dos Equis? Oh, I need to deal with y'all. But they have you up there. So in their spirit, the parents might have said something. They hold us at a higher esteem. We're role models, but when we're not there, Shaggy Jenkins, as we say in the streets.
The parents love y'all. The moms love y'all.
We love y'all. We just love, we love everybody.
Oh, yeah, you got to fix that one. I'm going to go back to talking about the discipline and the disparities in discipline with Black men. And I know we were rolling way over time, but I'm going to pick on E for a minute, because he has the juvenile justice background, or probation officer background. I feel you're going to listen first. So I'm going to speak for myself, and I don't want any of y'all to throw yourselves under the bus. But we talked before on another episode about how much we've saved kids when they've gotten into some shit that probably should have gotten them a ride to the county. Okay. All right? So your background and seeing what you have seen, how does that change your responsibilities on your campus? Now, you're on a high school campus, so y'all got shit popping over there. Yeah. Woo, Lord have mercy. Have you ever had to save a kid? And you know what I mean by saving. And y'all don't have to tell on yourselves if you don't want to tell yourselves. I tell on myself all the time. I done saved a couple of their asses.
So right now, as most people know, vaping is a huge issue in schools. We've had players that, put it simply, they just don't listen. We'll say, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you do this, this is a guarantee that's going to happen. I know exactly what you're heading to. I was like, his wife, she may look nice and all this, but I've seen his wife take a sip of coffee and give somebody 70 years like it was nothing.
Nothing. Jeez.
I was like, so if you want to go down that road.
And all of them down there are married. I walked in the courthouse down there. I'm like, damn, that's the husband, wife. They all duos.
It changes, and it's like every day we're trying to teach them a lesson. Every day they got a choice and a chance, and it's hard for them to understand that some of you guys, you don't get second chances.
Mm-hmm.
This is your one chance,
and you're really only getting there because I'm on this campus. Because if I were not on this campus, had it been another person.
Like somebody said, sports.
Mm-hmm.
What are you bringing to the school?
Mm-hmm.
Would there have been another kid? No. We've already kicked out plenty of kids off the team just because they can't stay off the weed, or stay off the pen, or the alcohol. In that random cases, it makes it very difficult because I kind of see exactly where they're headed. I'm just like, hey, at a certain point, you can pay that attorney this amount of money. Maybe it's going to go from a felony down to a misdemeanor. But that's only going to happen so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing like your family's dynamics, I was like, you can't afford that $20,000 retainer. You're going to get a court-appointed attorney. He's going to get us like $500 retainer and all that. And you're just going to go back in the back room of the courthouse and y'all going to talk about, okay, what's the best deal that you can give me? And when I was working in it, was like, well, I'm still going to go on probation. Can you go ahead and Mr. D, when, he's going to go on probation. Can you work us out a probation order that's going to suit this individual by your professional opinion? What do you think will work for this kid right here or this young adult? And that was my job, creating probation orders.
Mm-hmm.
I had a female teacher who was arrested for, messing around with a student. And one of the conditions was that teacher did not have to, how do I want to put it? She didn't have to give up her teacher certification. And I looked at the judge in his office. I was like, hey, is this correct? And the judge looked at me. Yeah. Looked at the DA, which we know one of those. We know one of those DAs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
It was like,
sounds like a story there.
Is this right? She can keep on teaching when she messing with the kid? Yeah, that's what they agreed upon. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So
she didn't look like us, did she?
Oh no, she did not.
Oh, okay. And the kid didn't look like us either. Huh.
So
that's very interesting. When you say going in, working out those deals, and something else that we preach to the kids too, when they think, oh, I don't need this class, I don't need to listen to this, and what about reading comprehension and listening and understanding, how important that skill is in any situation in life. Because I told a story about me going to jury duty down in the same town. And the baby I say baby because he was a baby that was on trial facing 2 life sentences. I was praying they did not pick me for that jury because it was just heartbreaking. But I'm listening to the lawyers poll the jurors, just asking different questions to make sure that they qualify or not. And I know as a reading English teacher that these people are just shaking their heads. Yes, they understand. They don't understand shit coming out those people's mouths. They are talking over them because the language is too heavy. Now, even though they're talking to me in a 10th, 11th grade, language, level of understandability, these people are just nodding their head, smiling like, yes, I understand. I'm thinking, that ain't what she just asked you. You don't understand the question that you're answering because that's not what she just said. And so when these kids go back into these situations or get themselves into these situations and they're nodding and agreeing because something sounds good or they think this adult has their best interest at heart, they're losing. And they're losing because they don't listen.
So after I would do the probation order, it kind of just go down, hey, do you agree to do this many hours of community service? Do you agree to appear before your probation officer this many times a month? Do you agree to pay this amount of money every month? Do you also agree to take this class on this date at this time? Do you understand if you do not complete all these conditions in 2 to 3 years, you face the full extent of that term? So the difference between deferred adjudication and regular probation, the deferred is, say you're agreeing to not go to jail for 25 years. Okay, well, I do 5 years of probation. But understanding if you fail to complete that probation, that district attorney and judge can come back and still give you that 25 years. So in hindsight, I was like, no, I'm not going to jail for 25. I choose to be perfect for 5 years.
No.
I was like, no, I'm not even perfect. I'm not even going to take that route. So you have some kids or some young adults, they're rather just go to county jail for those couple of years and just say, nah, I don't want to do that. So it's a lose-lose situation that they put on the table anyway.
That's so sad.
I mean, I pretty much was putting out 2 sheets of paper about here you go.
Pick your poison. That's where we are.
Or we can take it to what?
Trial.
Trial.
We already know what's going to happen there.
Exactly.
We already know what's going to happen. All the people on the podium don't look like you.
And now my deals get taken away. They will never be presented again. So.
Dang, that's terrible. That's terrible. So, as father figures, and most of you here are fathers. How, most of you, it's okay, it's coming. How do y'all balance being a father to your own children and a father to the countless number of kids that y'all have to be fathers to?
I'll answer that first. As a father of 2, you know, you raise them and try and get them to that level when they're doing good. And with being fathers to others, which I do have 3 or 4 that I'm about to call when I get home, we're going to go out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Are these former students?
Former students.
Okay.
You know, and the thing about it, going back, I'm going to move back a little bit further. When we was talking about being role models, I decided when I found out my son was coming, I had to change everything because I was going to be his role model. I was going into fatherhood, so some of that stuff. So, you know, when you change that, then you're able to migrate. When I got into teaching, I'm already at that status. I'm not doing that stuff. So when you become that role model, that's why the students I have, you know, the parents got to the point that if the kids call and say, I'm going somewhere, because for example, I was going to look for something for Easter. Before I realized it, these kids had to call their parents and be like, can I ride with Coach? I'm with Coach, because you going somewhere. So I'm looking around, I'm like, what? Who told y'all can go? Parents are gave full permission. So I got 5 little nuts in I'm carrying them with me to go get my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you become that role model. But the thing about, the biggest thing about education for us, we told me you can be doing other things, is that you get that reward of seeing those kids grow up. That one that followed me said he was gonna have his own barbershop. He has barbershop for the last 2 years.
Okay.
I had one of the other ones works for Michelin. He's bought his own house. He's been in it for a year. The other one just called me trying to help me solve his problem. He gave his mom key to his house he just got. And talking about how I'm gonna get. I'm like, son, hey, you kind of stuck right now. You done gave that kid, but the reward of seeing that. And then I had one student just before I moved here, about a month before I moved here, came up to me on his bike. He said, hey, Coach, what's going on? I started talking. He's like, you know what? I didn't understand a single thing that y'all told us while we were sitting out there doing practice or in the classroom, but I understand everything now. He owns his own trucking company. He has 2 trucks out there. Just became a father.
Investment.
You know, so those are the rewards, because we are never going to get the full financial compensation for what we put out. No. But when you got that group that multiplies time, that 1.3 that we are representing.
The unicorns.
You know, the unicorns.
Strong horn, baby.
You got. Because for everyone you can keep from going down that wrong road, that's the reward.
I want to shout out to the it's a jacked up shout out, but to the 72-hour dads out there, the holiday, the summertime, and I'm a part of that. You know, we have our own financial contributions that we make every paycheck. Shouts out to good old Rolling Around Abbott. My biggest thing was this: when I know you ain't gotta take the mic, I'm not gonna say nothing weird. You ain't gonna get canceled for this. I gotta shout out to these guys, because my guy walked in. I know where you from. He came in, strolled everything. I say, man, this guy's killer. He's doing it. So I always, my first year teaching, I didn't have a child, and I was a butthole. You know, what do you mean your aunt died on Thursday? I need that assignment on Monday. And shouts out to where she's at. I won't say the student's name. She grown now. She turned in that assignment. I say, man, that ain't even worth all that, boy. You rolled in the mud. Then when I had a child, I was like, wait a minute. Parents, I know we got to give parents some love. They're doing what they know and or believe is the best for what they do. So when I'm in the game and I'm spending all my time, and that's why I don't do high school right now, doing all my time with other people's kids, and I give them chance after chance after chance, then I got to give mine. I'm looking at him because he blowing money all the time on Uber Eats, and he need $25 on Apple. Shouts out to my man, with the financial book. We're gonna talk about that book. I gave it to him. I'm just like, let me give my own what I give the kids Monday through Friday. And then I go pick him up whenever I pick him up, and I gotta readjust to little Miles Morales, whatever he look like, and try to figure it out. So I will shout out to all the parents, male and female, who give everything they got 6-7 days a week, then go home and try to do their best. And not try, they do their best. Because a lot of people don't understand that. I've been fussing at this one, I've been talking this one. I come home to you, you left your sock on the floor, you left the refrigerator open, and now I got this other energy from the 8 to 4:30, whatever the contracts say, and I bring it on you. So it's a tough thing because I'm on a different aspect and schedule. Always trying to make up for time I don't have during the week. What are you doing? Is there a show? Can I come? Are you cool with that? Da-da-da-da. What's your mama say? Oh, she on something else. She raising you like that? Didn't know all that. Let me make a telephone call. Where's my drink?
Give me my. Thank you. Get him off the mic.
How much time we got left?
We are done. You're not gonna do the Attorney General rant on here.
I think for me, oh my gosh, I think it's just making sure that you're cognizant of the balance that is necessary. You once you have a family, you just can't work until 2 a.m. making lesson plans. It's just not possible, whether you want to or not. Your family needs that time with you there. Your children need that time with you there, outside, playing basketball, running, playing chess, doing something. And if you are so engulfed in your work, you will literally lose those years. And then you'll have a teenager who you did nothing with, but you paid the bills. And so at the end of the day, you want to be more than just the bill payer, because they need more than just a bill payer in the house. So it's really just finding the balance and making sure that, and for years, I would see principals' kids who were like horrible in school. And then you'd realize it's because the principal is literally just engulfed in their work and letting their kids be them. And so just making sure that I'm not that person, that I am putting into my children as much as I'm putting into someone else's kids.
And real quick, being probably, I guess, one of the only people in here that does not have kids, I think that education, everybody's going to say this in some different way, shape, or form. I'm going to acknowledge that. And shout out to all my fathers in here, man. It's not a lot of us, right? That when you get into education and you're in charge of others that look like and sometimes don't look like you, you're a role model. We just said that, right? That took some accepting, first and foremost. I like to tell people, being the bald man that I am, I didn't shave my head until I started teaching. I'm gonna let y'all think about that. It wasn't because of stress. It was just like I realized that whatever I was before I had to deal with others had to look different, and I just took it was going that way anyway. I went ahead and chopped a little bit off the top. I just went on with the whole thing with some suggestions. And when I walked in there, I was a totally different person. I tell the kids now when they ask, I was a totally different person when I had the wave pool flowing. When I had the hair, I acted totally different. And I feel like that change and having to deal with other people's children, having me be responsible for them, being the adult in the room sometimes with a bunch of adults, dealing with their students, that is something similar to me. In the fatherly realm, when you have that first child, you have to do things a little bit different, walk, talk, and act differently. So dealing with other people's children, that definitely changed a lot for me. It's something I kind of cherish because I don't have kids. When I get the letters that say you've been such an inspiration, when I get kids that I used to get on their case about having themselves out of dress code as an AP, you got to cut your hair. Your hair is not the right way. And I'm in class a week before school get out, and I get a strange phone call from one of those kids. His hair is long as your hair, Madam Host. Long. See, it's natural. It's all mine. Remember you made me cut my hair? I said, yeah, but I also was at the hospital with you that time you fell out of band practice because your parents were being a butt with you. And he called me just to say, I just had a memory. It came up. You were the only person in my family that showed up. So I like to say that for anybody that's listening. You don't have to be a father to be a father, right? I've had to learn that because it's, not having kids, wanting kids and all that kind of stuff. It's cool, but these kids give me hell.
Yeah.
So I know mine gonna tear the club up when I get them. You know what I'm saying?
Look at you as a father. They gonna call.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most rewarding parts.
I think I can.
No, you go.
I think I can speak for the same. I'm one of the ones at the table who don't have kids, but the biggest honor is when one of the kids come up to you and say, "I wish you were my dad," or I had one say this year, "Hey, you've been with me 3 years. You've been like my dad," because my dad never calls me or checks in on me. Yeah. So to hear that, it's like, wow. You don't realize the impact that you're having on these kids. I heard a quote that said, "You may just be one person in this world, but you may mean the world to one person." Yeah. And I say to everybody here, you're a father to someone, whether you are a real father or not. You're fathering somebody's kids, because there are a lot of kids out there who don't have father figures. And just to keep the door for them to be able to come in and have that man-to-man conversation with you, like I know y'all done had the deodorant conversation.
Yeah, man.
Come on now. They already know that we got deodorant, we got soap. I even spent money and bought cologne and put up in the cabinet just to show these kids, hey, why you come to school wrinkled? Why is your shoes dirty? Clean your shoes up. Take some pride in what you're wearing. So you become that father figure without trying to be that father figure, And, I mean, we just don't get the benefit of January.
Yeah. Like, I know this year alone, I gave away 5 pairs of brand new shoes just because the kids I was working with didn't have families to go home to. Like, three of the kids I had in that self-contained class were in ROTCs, residential treatment facilities. So, like, they acting out, but, they only got 3 or 4 shirts that they wearing to schools. So I said, hey, you do good for 2 weeks. I'm gonna give you a brand new pair of Jordans. Pulled them straight out of my closet, gave them to him.
Because you are the sneakerhead himself.
But I'm just saying, and then like, so I have a story. Back when I was working as a para before I came to this district, it was a kid. He didn't look like us. I saw him at lunch. He had on some red Vans. I said, "Man, I like your Vans." He said, "Oh man, I like your Jordans." I said, "Oh, thank you, appreciate it." So every day for the rest of that school year, he would talk to me about shoes. And at the end of the year, he bought me a pair of red Vans. And he said, "I bought you a pair because you said you liked them." And then at the end of the year, I said, "Man, I've never gave a kid my phone number, but go get your mom." Because he was just live with mom. I said, "Go get your mom, and I'm going to give her my cell phone number." So as y'all know, most of y'all know, I ref too. So he went on to play at Pearland Dawson. He got a scholarship to Rice University. I saw him his last game when they lost in the playoffs. We ref that game, they lost. He called me after the game and he said, "Hey, I'm going to Rice University. Can you come watch my game?" I said, "Yeah." Wow. So to this day, like I check on him. "Hey, how your grades doing?" "Hey, good." I said, "Man, you decide what you're gonna major in?" "I don't know yet." I said, "Hey, you need to make a decision." Like, so he's like, "Yeah, you got any suggestions?" I say, "Well, like he asked me for advice as if I was his dad. And it's just simply off of showing interest in things that he was interested in. And a lot of us don't understand, or a lot of us do understand the impact that we have on these kids just by listening to them, just by talking to them, because a lot of people don't do that, especially at home, especially if it's a mom and they got siblings and she got to work 3 jobs and she can't come to the kid game. And, so kids look up to this 1.3% and say, "Hey, if I had a dad, I want my dad to look and be like these men that are at this table now."
Before you end, I think one thing that we have to learn how to navigate too, and that's been something I've been working on for the last few years, is how do we navigate that same area with our girls? So it's very comfortable for us to be like, "Hey, here's my cell phone number to the guys. Let me talk to your mom. We'll meet up here," right? But there's this weird space that we have to navigate when it comes to girls. Number one, because there obviously are people out there who are into that stuff. And so we never want to be seen as those individuals, but our girls need that type of relationship too.
They showed up at our room every morning. We had a men's group in the morning. We had actual girls who would come and sit outside the door because they just wanted to hear what we were talking about. So after that, they started showing up in my room, just sitting there, want to talk.
But about the girl situation, that was always one of my nemesis since I started education. I don't know why, but I've learned, because to my first thing I always do is let me talk to your father. And I've talked to so many fathers of girls that when I've done that, it's broken the whole weirdness away, it's broken the intentions away, because I never want to have that situation because I hear about it so much. So when I see that, let me talk to your father first. If father's not around, uncle, grandfather, let me talk to those males so we can go ahead and break that ice. And when I seen that, things are opened up to where things would be more comfortable, to where it doesn't seem kind of off-brand.
How do y'all, because I know I've been working next door to you forever, but even those girls who don't have father figures at home and want the hugs, want the touches, and I know that for some it's very uncomfortable for y'all. I've seen you kind of do the church side hug, but they always hugging you, and I don't think. I'm not gonna say they're not hugging, because I know I can say I don't hug the boys because the boys are hugging with ill intention. Okay? But
to the waist, I see your face.
The girls, shut up. But the girls are truly hugging or wanting affection from the male because they admire you, they love you as a father figure. So even doing the little church side tap, like, do y'all do that? Or I know, like you said, you never want anybody to perceive negative things about.
Well, can I say the guys also, we have to make a safe, like right now, this is one of my favorite podcasts ever. However many episodes you chop it up, because these are men talking in the men's space. So many young boys, and I come from a family of parents that are married. Still to this day, they ride it out till they die. Hopefully they get in heaven if that's what they believe. That there was not a lot of hugging. So we have to realize, too, that there are a lot of young men, especially when you're in elementary, and it was so tough for me as a sub in elementary to try to high five. And one of the boys say, get that high five for education, because that's all I wanted to give him, because I didn't want to be the weird creep dude.
Yeah.
But how many young men are missing out on the embrace, the hug, because that's not what they dads ever had and did. So when it comes to the young ladies, it's very, you got to keep your job. You got to keep your job. You know, I air five a lot of them. Now, if I know your parents, like you said earlier, I've spoken to your parents. Everything is gravy. You might be in your last year at the school. I might give you a side hug. But it's not about the actual individuals you're dealing with. It's about the audience. So, you know, I've always had to tell young teachers, hey, man, make sure when you do some tutorials or something, have somebody else in there with you and keep make sure the music you're playing is right and all that, because you don't want anybody to walk through and assume something that you're not doing. So what that does is that takes away the masculine protective thing that we do, because that's what we all do. Every story's been told, why have they come to you? And women protect and they do their thing how they do. But when I can come and when people come and sit that are not a part of your group, hey, we like candy canes, we like Snickers, but I got to sit outside your candy cane meeting because I got to hear what you got. They see a benefit that you're giving, but they got to get it how they get it. And you have to be careful as a male, because you can't be seen as a weirdo trying to make stuff happen. So when young ladies come and talk to you, I always keep up this old school class with them. And I'm in where I'm at. Hey, make sure there are young men in here. So when you're stretching, you stretch like this. Or make sure when you dress, you know where you're dressing, right? Okay? You can do that at home, but when you're up here with us, we have a dress code. And make sure you do this. To try to give them what a young lady's a young lady. Your daughter, she's been in the class and like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I don't say nothing to her because she grown. I mean, because you've raised her a certain way. And then if you give her instruction, okay, thanks, I understand it. But that might be the biggest thing not talked about in male education is we have a whole community of young women and young men who have never had affection in their life, a simple hug.
Did you see, there was a story that went viral on Facebook, and it was a group of male mentors that came to a middle school. And one of the little kids walked up and asked the guy, can I have a hug? And the guy was like, okay, and hugged him. And then he said, somebody else asked, like, how many of y'all have never been hugged by your father? Or when's the last time y'all have been hugged by your father? And they were all kind of looking like, shit, what's that? And so all of these men just kind of stood up and just said, everybody come in.
My dad is 75. I'm 43. The most I've ever done was he found out he had a 95% blockage. Thank God for an accident or you would die. And when he was about to go, and I saw fear in his face. Hey man, all right, you be good. You do your thing.
That was a dap.
It's all
on
it
his
was.
deathbed. On his
No, he wasn't down. I mean, he was. If he had an incident, he around the corner. He more ignorant than Mr.
saying,
Mysterious.
like, the
No. Because you got to remember,
95% block is like Jesus was calling.
my namesake raised him a different way. So and it was like, hey man, you about to go in. He gave me the look. We all know the look. I said, okay, if this don't go to how it's supposed to go, Pop, I love you to death. And then they rolled him out, and I said, I hope he come back. I know what all the money in the paintings is.
Oh Lord.
But you got to realize that if you're not raised on that,
Mm.
if that makes you weak, like I'm 43. Back in the day, you was weak.
Are you like that with your son now?
Not at all.
Are you affectionate?
No, oh my God, come here, give me a hug, bro.
Mm.
What you want to eat? Chick-fil-A, so be it. Then I get mad when he want to get some snow crab or something. Who raised you like this? I gotta hug him. Let it go. Throw it all on me because I give that to other people's children. That's the biggest thing.
So I know we keep saying wrap it up, but I keep finding
We ain't wrapping up yet.
I know I keep finding other little topics to talk
Unicorns in the streets, no wrap up.
about. Wow, that was a very terrible joke. You are trying to get me canceled for real. That was a
Just
terrible
Mr. Mysterious. Just Mr. Mysterious
Get your
by
ass-
myself.
Get your ass off the mic. There was a story that came out yesterday in Baton Rouge, and it was a guy that was an administrator of a private school in Baton Rouge, and he got blasted on the news because he was sending a student money in exchange for inappropriate pictures. Right? She was a high school girl, and apparently her mom went through her phone and found the text messages, which is how the story came to fruition. But it was the amount of $300, and then it went to $600, and then it went to $900. So we were talking about some money, and he started coughing. We're talking about some money that's being exchanged
picture.
per whatever, per transaction.
Pervert. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the mom, they're showing the pictures on the news, the conversations of screenshots of the text messages on the news. And the mom said she knew something was weird because the girl all of a sudden had a bunch of money. And so, I get into these exchanges on social media, and somebody said, well, hell, all she did was finesse this man out of money. And I say, I hate the word finesse because what these girls aspire to be, finessers, city girls, whatever. And nobody is telling them, that these transactions, it's gonna be time to collect. And what they're not telling you is that you're being groomed. So whereas you think you're finessing, this grown man, apparently if he don't have a problem giving you $300, that's nothing to him. But in your mind, you're winning. And in his mind, he winning too. There's only one victim here, and it's you. So when we talk about, and I told a story about how my dad, I have a sister, and one of the things my dad instilled in us at an early age, and I'm talking to you, the men that have daughters at the table. One of the things he instilled in us at an early age was that you don't ever, anything in this world that you want, anything in this world that you need, you come and ask me. I don't care how far-fetched you think it is. You come to me and ask me because I never, ever, ever want you to feel like you have to do anything to degrade, belittle, lower yourself in exchange for a couple of dollars.
As before we start with any of these questions, for anybody who has any answers, remember, we always support good thinking, good ways of raising, and always doing what's right for the kids. Remember that. I need some water.
Why is he on? We're going to cut him off. But so those of you that have daughters, and we talk about the importance of a male presence and just even how we see in our students how easily our young ladies are manipulated by some of these young men, and just the enticement of money and things. How important it is for you guys to be role models, because even though, like you said, there's uncomfortable conversations, there's uncomfortable things, there are some beautiful lessons that I feel like you guys, if they don't have that role model at home, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's your duty, but it's like, is that your role to step up and handle that?
You're supposed to be your daughter's first love. Yeah. You're supposed to be the one to show your daughter what a man should do to make her happy. And I say that as a man that has one daughter, about to have my second.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So I know. And so like my daughter right now, she's 12, she'll be 13 at the end of June. She's in an enrichment class right now. And so there was a little boy in there, and I hate that she did this. Lord, I hate she did this. She said, the little boy was showing off his Gucci belt, and she said that's not real. So she had on some Yeezy slides, and he was like, "No, the Yeezy slides not real." She said, "Yes, they are. My daddy don't buy me nothing fake."
But the standard.
And so the lady that was teaching the enrichment class is my mom's good friend. So of course she called me after the class and she told me what my daughter said. I said, I hope you redirected her and tell her that we don't talk about people. But she damn right, because her daddy don't buy her nothing fake. So that she knows that any man, if you do want to try to date my daughter down the line and she asks for something, she know different between quality and bullshit.
So I think one thing extra is if you are married at the same time, I can tell my daughter everything that I want her to experience in life. But if I don't treat my wife that way, then it doesn't exist.
Yes, sir.
So it becomes a do as I say, not as I do type of situation. So if I ignore my wife, if I don't buy her gifts, if I don't show her appreciation, then that all of a sudden that means that the relationship that she's going to be in the future, she'll be okay with not being appreciated, not being loved, not being noticed, just because that's what she grew up with.
All right, y'all. The producer is flashing his time at me because we done this is probably the longest one that we've ever done. But so I'll wrap it up. But I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate for you guys everything you do in the lives of your students, your children. I told you guys this earlier. All the things you guys do, everybody's dabbing each other up at the table. I love these black men. But everything you do for my own children. And the roles that you serve in their lives. I appreciate y'all so very much. I hope you enjoyed your breakfast. Courtesy of my children, we thank y'all.
We appreciate
children. You better make me feel like I have a child.
I know. I appreciate. So that is y'all's Father's Day gift from my children for everything you guys do for us. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, shout out to our sponsor, BDA Basketball Determination Avenue. Coach Carey, thank you again for sponsoring today's episode. Happy Father's Day, guys. I hope you guys are all shown how wonderful and appreciated you are. And again, thank you to my unicorn.
Hey, strong, long, and black.
This podcast was made possible by producer extraordinaire D. Francis at the legendary Lab 7 Studios in Mo City, Texas.